We're 4 races into the inaugural season, and yet all classes remain a close fight. This weekend has 2 notes in store for the drivers. The opening challenge is the first ever sprint race with Racing Series. I'm Joe. With me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Down on pit lane, we'll be joined by Sloan Polisner and John Ace. But Joey, VI no joke for these cars.
It is an amazing facility, and you just saw we have some amazing temperatures for racing this weekend as well. Just a tick over 90 degrees over there at VIR. And what a picturesque facility. 3.27 miles of winding racetrack right on the North Carolina-Virginia border.
And here you can see our starting grid sees Matt Million on the pole once again. Linus Lundqvist is going to be starting next to him on the outside. Then it is Oliver Piatek in third with Ethan Barker starting in the fourth position. Row 3 sees likes of Shane Roberts starting in fifth and Jackson Lee on the outside of that third row. Victor Cuoto is going to be starting in seventh. He's got Carter Pease starting to his outside. From there, down in the 10th spot is Brendan Kidd with Trent Walco starting in the actually 9th place with 10th going to. Then you've got Colin Garrett starting in 11th. Rob Jakovitz going to be starting all for the ZRs. It is William Alsup to the outside of that front row. Then we'll begin in 494 Motors. 94 Motorsports car, Matt Million starting for the 95. I believe that is in 2 places at once. Anthony III will start in the Coast Area Bay Log. ZR3 cars. Harrison Ramirez starts on the pole there. So showing this starting for the 177, we have another car that'll experience most likely. Max Ocaronzo Racing will start from third. You've got in fourth position J5 and then Alex Crane in Tim Gray for Gray Performance Motors. Then it's Corey Tompkins for Bruce and 4 starting 8th. Tivadov will start in 9th. Sveltine. Then you've got 11th. And then on 12th. We got a number of drivers or teams at the start here. As Chris Payne rounds out Joey. This is by far the biggest and the shortest race that we're going to be for this season.
It's in the Zenith Racing Series in the year of 2026. Just a few short months, had a couple rounds. We find ourselves EIR, and you're right, 30 versus what is on the entry list in this track right now. So are we going to expect the amazing racecraft that we've seen, that we've come to in the Racing Series, but now to pack the racetrack a little?
Interesting to see if this worked out, and we'll see. Is here today is ZP2 class getting ready. This car is already in for them as they come down the main chassis, taking the lead in his Stratus machine. These are going to be on this track with all the downforce and all the switch that they have. Start finish line just around the bend. There is the green flags off down into turn 1. An important corner trying to keep your Cindy here, as it often can cause braking. But it looks like turn Million top spot, at least for the time being, slot in behind is in the back are 2 cars.
ZR3 and the ZR on right now with the green flag. So super fast little prototype ZR3 turn number 3. This is the N4 and 5. The lower S is also what it's called here on the gas, because now you're all the way up through my favorite section, the climbing S's.
Have start is under review. That's Piatek and P. So not sure what the cause is, but we'll see if we can get some information later on. We also had a spin there, the 41 machine. Double checking to see if we can find out who that is. ZR2 cars down 3. Now they need the pier on their way down Madison Ave.
Of course, the oak tree no longer there. Open corner that the drivers from entry throughout those cars that has stopped just turn number 4 here. Off far drivers, right? This one machines. That is one, unfortunately, strict rockets with Alsop behind the wheel.
That's going to bring out our first, even get to complete the first lap. So we now slow down, and the entire field hits a pit limiter. They will kilometers an hour. Nobody is able, so this allows the safety crews to go care of the stricken car. That number 41, he has met the wall, so is not going to be without damage.
Hopefully they should be able to get. I can't see that there's an image on the car. I wonder if maybe it's just a mechanical issue, Joe, and hook up the flat toe to it in front of the car, so it's not even a matter of flatbed. They should just do it and tow it all the way around, or at least to a break wall, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. And you make a good point from race control. It says car stop. Usually there's some sort of an incident or an accident. So maybe they did keep from asking what kind of information we can get one. But away out of the left, the field just now coming back. And fortunately, not at full. Now, I apologize because I'm at million leading. I'm actually showing Quist, who is up at the 9. Million still showing pit lane. So I'm unsure if maybe we're just holding out for tomorrow. It's a very long race tomorrow.
Yeah, and just going through our timing and scoring order, R2s, the ZR3s, as well as the ZP2 class out there. So I think we just kind of have to patiently wait for everything to settle out. And I also see that Alcaranza is classed as a ZR3, which we typically see him in that ZP2 class.
We'll try and get some of that sorted out and feed that to you. I also see that Crane in the 76 and Jenkins in the 777 have stopped into pit lane. Now, there shouldn't really be much reason to come into the pits this early. Obviously, for those not familiar, they are not allowed to change tires except one tire on the car. And then beyond that, they get lap penalties added to the car if they change more than one tire during a pit stop. So the best I can think, Joey, is that maybe we're seeing them top up on fuel if they would just lack the track position. At least that'd be my guess of the reason for stopping this early.
Yeah, I think that's always an option, is that whenever there is a yellow flag or a code 60, for instance, here in Zenith Racing Series, taking more fuel is never a bad strategy, especially if you don't have the track position. And it's not necessarily going to fix all of your problems later on in the race. It just could open a couple more doors, potentially.
Green flag already back out. This is great to see. We had a very short yellow flag, and now we are going racing once again as Lundqvist will lead the way. There we see some of our GT cars coming around South Bend, heading back to Oak Tree once more. I think that might be our ZR2s and a few of our ZR3s following in close behind. The pace of those two classes, Joey, often pretty close to one another. So I'm kind of curious who's going to have the edge this time around.
And at this racetrack, right? A little bit of a different dynamic than some of the racetracks we've seen between Sonoma and Barber. Those racetracks didn't necessarily have the longest straightaways. Here at VIR, I have a feeling that the ZR2 cars will be able to stretch their legs just a little bit more. And we're used to seeing those ZP2 cars be really maybe not have the top end speed that some of these, call it GT4 based ZR2 cars have. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But this sprint race is kind of a good test for us to exactly see what's going to pan out tomorrow in the 12-hour.
Beautiful day out here as well. Not many clouds up in the sky, so it should be nice and sunny. Unfortunately for the drivers, that means it's going to be quite hot out there. So that'll be another test once we get to the 12-hour race tomorrow. And I'm sure we're going to be talking about a lot, having to deal with the weather conditions. Continuing to ride on board down through NASCAR Bend. Still showing as Ocaranza up in the lead, like you said, in that 14. But we think that should be the ZP2 car that is at the top, that is leading this race. Getting a view on board one of our Stratus racing cars off to the side as well. I think that's Ethan Barker that we're watching.
Yeah, correct. And the number 77 got some pretty cool graphics. Big time shout out to Mike Burba behind the scenes. He's really been hard at work with all of the graphics packages that you see here with Zenith Racing Series, all the picture-in-picture boxes, and all of the onboard cameras as well with GPX systems. Pretty cool, the coverage that we're able to bring right outside this Virginia-North Carolina border racetrack. If you drove out to VIR, you might think you're lost. There isn't quite too much around, but it certainly does make for a picturesque setting once it opens up into this facility.
You know, I even thought about making a comment on that in my intro that I was writing earlier today, that you could take a walk through the woods and suddenly find a hidden secret such as this circuit. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks it's really tucked away, kind of off into its own little hidey hole. But I believe we've been watching on board with Fardos here in the 94. He's coming down through the roller coaster. This is into Hogpen here. Really shows off the huge amounts of elevation change that are all around this circuit.
Especially down through that section you were just mentioning, call it from turn 14 all the way to Hogpen. It really kind of climbs just slightly in elevation once you get onto the front straightaway here, but it is downhill throughout. You have to deal with the car being light on its feet as you come down the hill initially, and then you have the heavy compression down there at turn number 17. There's some good shots here down on the front straightaway, drafting. Going to make a move here into turn number 1. Nice and textbook right on the inside line with an outbraking maneuver.
And it does look like we've got another car in pit lane. That's the 98 Walco currently in there as we're wheel to wheel up into NASCAR Bend. The 444 going to come out ahead of Gray on that one. That is for 5th in the ZR3s. And then out past those little set of corners takes you to the Snake. You can see them heading towards there now as we watch from the drone.
You're going to watch the cars try to make this section as straight as possible. That's the great advantage of watching overhead from these shots here. The climbing S's, yes, they are turns on the racetrack, but you're going to see the drivers try to narrow it up as much as possible. And really, I'm impressed that the drivers aren't using as much apex curb. Typically, we'll see some of the more aggressive drivers going after that lap time pretty much put half of that car in the inside grass there, trying to just make the uphill S's as easy as possible, not putting as much load left to right in the car.
Especially with these longer races. Of course, granted, as we said, this is the shortest they've had so far, but even that, 2.5 hours that they're going to be running. So what is a sprint race for this series is a bit of a longer one for most other racing series. You got to make your equipment last all the way to the end. Do you still have a number of those ZR2 cars? Actually, it looks like mixed in to the ZP2s up at the front from what we're seeing on our timing and scoring, but still watching this car of Howard try to get away from Tompkins there. This is 11th overall at the moment. These drivers are just kind of settling in at this stage. A nice move by Howard. Definitely puts him out of touch of his challenger after he made that nice move just one lap ago. Now we check in with those ZP2s. And yep, just like I was talking about, Joey, you can see some of those ZR2 cars splitting them, actually.
Pretty interesting, and I think that just has to do with we have more cars out there on the racetracks. We've got a bigger sample size of the data. I believe this is the number 4 and 5 car running together. These are the round 3 racing machines. I believe that's led by Oliver Piatek, and now we've got a car slow on the racetrack. I wasn't quite able to grab which car number that was.
That's Waddell in the 57. And it did look like it was just kind of easing along. So I wonder if there's a technical issue that Ben is experiencing in the car. That's not a good sign this early in the race, already glitch. But we still need to find out exactly what is happening before we can make an assessment on there. Hopefully he can keep it going. We don't come to another code 60 in the first 15 minutes of today's race. But there you see them start to really pick up speed. This is where those ZR2 cars are going to look the quickest. This is along Madison Avenue, the longest straight on the track.
Top speeds are exactly what they're about to see. Foot to the floor. The elevation kind of has these rolling hills as you're down that back straightaway before you finally get to that brake zone of turn number 14, which isn't straight at all. Now you got to manage that car control all the way down the hill here. Hog pen, always an interesting section because you really got to set up the right-hander, but it's very much a left-hand corner in 16 to set up for the turn number 17. And there you see just kind of the strengths and weaknesses of both of those cars. Maybe the ZR2 car is going to edge out a little bit on the top speed here on the front straightaway in comparison to that ZP2 machine.
You see the race control message. I have been kind of checking in on that 57. He's currently on Madison Avenue himself. So back straightaways. We're going to go 3 wide with the traffic coming up towards NASCAR Bend. Poor ZP2 car has no place to place himself in all that action, as they're still battling it out. Coming down into the left hook. They'll switch around now and try to sort this one out and trying to make out which cars that we're seeing there, but it looks like they've finally got it single file.
And I'm not sure which one of our ZP2 machines is giving chase down there, just trying to get the number off the side of the car. And now this is pretty interesting. They thought about going side by side in the uphill S's, and they thought twice about it, got back onto that racing line, and I think that was a smart move, especially so early on in the weekend.
So I think this is Pease and Piatek maybe that are having a bit of a battle with the 908 chasing close behind. So that is 2 of our ZP2s. And I believe Kid, actually, no, excuse me. 908 is also a ZP2, so apologies. I think I may have gotten that wrong. We're still trying to get a couple things sorted out behind the scenes here, but definitely great action out on track. But will it start to erupt once again, coming up into the roller coaster? A little bit more wing on that rear car. Is it making it harder to stay up in a straight line? He finally catches him in the brake zone.
It's a very interesting dynamic, right? They're both BMWs, but 2 completely different models of car, 2 different chassis, 2 different engines. And you're right, they're just kind of making their speed in 2 different areas of the racetrack. And meanwhile, our ZP2 machine is just kind of patiently waiting back there, trying to find an opening, as once again, the top speed starts to take over here. The meat in the sandwich, that BMW with the V8 starting to flex its muscle just a little bit, but can't quite get close enough before they got to jump on that brake pedal for turn number 1, slow everything up, and now the advantage should go to that caboose on the train. But once again, they're side by side, 3 wide here at VIR is a tough thing to do, especially into turn 3.
Absolutely no place to go. It is a carbon copy of last lap. That driver has got to be absolutely frustrated in there because, like you said, this is where he knows he can be so much faster, but there is no place to go. It's hard enough going 2 wide. These 2 are managing it. Oh, as one car goes all the way off in the snake, and he's going to have to give up the spot.
Oh, well, I can't say that I saw one being muscled off of the racetrack, but I think we saw the pass coming for at least the last lap or so. What a valiant effort and a great battle between those BMWs, and now they're going to settle out and go their own way.
I think that may have involved the 14 of Messenger that we were watching in that group. So they come around here, around Oak Tree once again. And last time I speculated whether or not that car with the bigger wing is going to find himself at a disadvantage. Oh, look at this. That ZP2 car finally gets a bit of a run. Unfortunately, he's going to have not enough muscle in comparison, but he will have the braking coming into the roller coaster. They're off to the left-hand side of the screen as we watch the leader of the pair. I'd love to see whether or not he manages to finally get ahead of at least one of the cars so that he can make his way up the road where the car has speed. I guess we won't find out for now as we continue to follow him down the hill.
And I am getting word from pit road and Sloan and Jonathan down there. We were wondering about that number 57 machine from Stratus Racing. Remember, Waddell was behind the wheel and it was slow on the racetrack, and don't have a bunch more other than it lost power out there. Really unfortunate for that machine. Hopefully the team will be able to diagnose exactly what happened with the car and be able to at least get it back out on the racetrack. And if not today, at least figure it out for the big race tomorrow.
Wow.
There you go, Joe. There's a readout.
Yeah, a lot of cars that get a one-lap penalty. This is how they operate it here in Zenith. It's not a 30-second stop and hold or things of that nature. You get a one-lap penalty. So car 5, 24, 85, 94, 392, 444, and 555, all with code 60 violations. You need to make sure that you are not speeding during those moments because that is a safety issue.
And I'm going through our class leaders, not going to include the class leader in ZP2 or ZR3. Let's check our ZR2 class. It doesn't involve them as well. You know what? I take back what I said about our leader in ZR3. That's the 392. Oh, no, for Harrison Motorsports, they are bunched in that group.
So that is unfortunate. In the meantime, sounds like our pit reporters, Sloan and Jonathan, are currently down on pit lane. Let's head to them and introduce them to the crew.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to VIR. I've missed you all. I hope you guys missed me because if you didn't, that's really upsetting because I missed you all. I'm so excited to be at VIR. The weather's actually probably going to start sweating in a little bit, but I've also been sweating all day because I've been super nervous to work with incredible Jonathan Brace here because I absolutely love him. So he's going to be joining us for the race today and the race tomorrow. Jonathan, thank you so much for being here with us at Zenith. Can you kind of tell me what you're excited for about this weekend, then give us a lowdown of what you've seen so far?
Thank you very much. I feel like I've been drinking through a fire hose. It's been great getting introduced to the paddock. I've had a lot of fun watching you and the rest of the folks on the stream, so it's an honor to be a part of it here. It's a beautiful blue skies, some Pixar clouds. It's warm and it's humid, and I think that's going to be a factor later on. Remember, tires are always a strategic element here, especially in this sprint race. You, of course, want to make up positions to set up for the 12-hour contest tomorrow, but doing that with a limited allocation is tricky. So how you manage that tire rubber is going to be interesting because that'll come into play tomorrow when for 2 of our 3 classes we can see 4 additional tires being allocated to the ZR3s still just get 5 tires with that one Joker to use. I think that's what I'm most curious about. It's a different qualifying format that we're used to seeing. It's a different race format than we're used to seeing. We also talked and we heard from the booth some of the issues for the 57. They had an issue earlier today, just an electrical gremlin. I suspect with the short turnaround between the end of the qualifying session and the beginning of this sprint race, it might be the same thing plaguing them there. We'll go ahead and see if we can get an update further afield, but for now, I think the 57 is probably going to be looking eyes forward to make up the most ground and set up the car for tomorrow, Sloan.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what these teams are feeling like at the end of this race. It'll really get us a good idea of how they're going to feel for tomorrow. We also have a night practice from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight too, so we hopefully will gather a little bit more data on the tires, on the cars, but I'm so excited for tomorrow. We've got 12 hours of incredible racing coming to you guys, and we'll be back with some updates in a little bit. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Sloan. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, Joey, they make a very good point. Something I was thinking about a little bit earlier, that once we get to tomorrow's race, they won't have a lot of it at night, but it'll be going till somewhere around 8, 9 p.m. It'll definitely be dark, and that's something this series has not experienced yet.
And the drivers, we're going to see how many of them are comfortable racing in those conditions too, because like you mentioned, going into the nighttime is a completely different atmosphere. All of your visuals change out there on the racetrack. And I can say, though, the fun part about it, the temperatures start to cool down. Everything seems to get faster and faster and faster as long as the driver is confident.
This is the battle for P2. Ethan Barker versus Roberts in the 109. The Nimbus Racing team is fallen off the lead by about 3.8 seconds from what I'm showing right now. But the Roberts Motorsports car is keeping him honest for that second spot. Both of them fighting for the podium. Could just be biding his time, at least for now, as like we said, they do still have more than 2 hours to try and run this one through. So we will be seeing pit stops during this race naturally, and that will just be for fuel. Mostly it'll be down to who can utilize the strategy best, because we've already had at least one Code 60, Joey, and by now I think the teams have got a handle on how those Code 60s can offer them an advantage.
It's been very fun to watch the development of them, especially after the first couple that we had in those early races. And then we had even more of them over there, Barber, plus kind of the break in the middle. So you're right. I feel like the drivers finally understand the strategy behind it. However, the teams still have to be on top of those calls, as we got to move down into turn number 1 with a little bit of a lockup from that front left tire. That can be interesting because that is also the tire that is responsible for steering the car. You got to make sure you get that thing rotating again, but it certainly seems like the 109 was able to make that move. That was Roberts out there.
Nicely done. That's up to second place for him now. And they've got, let's see, a pretty big gap, almost 20 seconds, I think, to Kuto in the round 3 racing number 3 car. So they're in a very handy position. In fact, they've got a buffer of our lead ZR2, the 99 of Jackowitz, currently leading and holding position overall between Barker and Kuto. So there's a lot to be comfortable about if you are in P2 and P3 in these ZP2 cars, although now they're already starting to hit a little bit of traffic. Both going to work their way around the outside into Oak Tree. So thankfully, looks like it'll be a bit of a non-issue this time around.
Just a little bit of a sample of kind of what we were talking about to open the show, and having more cars on the racetrack. Well, guess what? When you're in one of these faster classed cars, you're going to have to deal with more when you come up to these slower classed cars and have to maneuver around them. I'm very curious about Shane Roberts now that he's got a clean windshield and doesn't have to worry about anybody. Can he go up there and set some fast lap times? The top 3 has been incredibly consistent, albeit with that AOA racing car significantly out in front in terms of timing and scoring in that interval. But the lap times between these ZP2 machines have been within a couple of tenths of a second of each other.
And Joey, you have a ton of experience around this track. Where are the places that you most have to watch out for that traffic, where you think it's going to do the most harm? And where are some of the best places to catch them?
Best places are on the straightaways, right? Where you can easily put your foot down.
Yeah.
And thankfully, VIR has a pair of really long straightaways, right? And you could almost consider maybe a third straightaway as you go up through the uphill S's. I would say, as we're kind of following these cars around the racetrack, you don't want to get caught up in between 3 and 4, which is right here where this, I'll call it red 109 is. It's a little bit of a funnel section. You can't really go too wide, and if you try to get stuck onto the outside, you can find yourself going for a bumpy ride through the grass. And then typically it's a single file racetrack through the lower S's. So you can get held up and call it turns 4, 5, and 6. And then in the uphill S's, if you get stuck behind a really slow car in terms of top speed, right? 2 completely different classes. That can also be a worry, but the driver always needs to be looking so far down the road when you're in one of those faster classes that says, hey, you know what? Do I maybe need to lift 2 corners before just so I'm not running up on them in a terrible funnel effect area? And then maybe the other section, Joe, turn 14, the brake zone into 14. But once you crest and go through turn number 14, it kind of opens up a little bit.
We got some views of one of our Porsche Caymans that has joined us. In fact, I think it's only one Porsche Cayman going to be competing this time. That's Heinlein in the 411 car. It's been just a swath of BMWs in the GT classes so far this season, but we're starting to get a little bit more different types that are coming out to try and compete here. And in fact, we're riding on board one of those BMWs down the back straight right now, or we were for a second.
And jump on over to this turn 3, 4, 5 complex. This is one of those AOA Racing BMWs, this red and white machine, followed up with another BMW, a little bit of an older chassis, a little bit of an older car. As we get a message from Race Control, the number 908 is getting a mechanical black flag, unfortunately. And that's actually Brandon Kidd. That's one of our ZP2 machines for automatic racing.
Interesting. He's already running 7th, so he's a bit far down in those ZP2s, but clearly some sort of issue. His last lap actually showing his personal best, so whatever damage that he's getting or whatever's happening with the car, it's certainly not slowing him down, but the race control folks have deemed it a safety issue out there, so they're going to have to come back in and get that worked on in just a moment. Meanwhile, watching that 76 circulate on around, that's Grissom in that BMW M3, kind of all on his lonesome. But like we said, now is a good time to have that track position to yourself and really focus.
I was looking at the schedule for the course of the weekend. I have a feeling that this 2.5-hour sprint race, especially it being kind of a non-points race out here, these teams and the drivers, they're definitely going to be using this as an extended practice session, an extended test session. I think, yes, you need to run through the rhythms of the pit stops. You need to run through the rhythms of taking the green flag, taking the checkered flag, if we've got one of those Code 60s, which conveniently we did early on in this race. However, not a whole lot of practice time leading up to this 2.5-hour race. So, Joe, I have a feeling just a whole lot of learning going on right now on the track.
So different from previous weekends. So yeah, learning how to best utilize your time as well, you could say, as well as just getting the data out there on the circuit. Messenger is the one we've been riding on board with for AOA Racing, who leads in the ZR3s. And he's been doing a handy job, although he's got a ZP2 car that's been chasing him. Looks like he's a mere 10th or 2 behind him. Now we've switched over to Corey Jenkins in the ZR3s, this 777 car, currently running in 8th and trying to get away from Grissom, who we watched a little bit earlier.
This is coming out of sector number 1 here, going into sector number 2. Riding on board, like you mentioned, Corey Jenkins in this big Mission Motorsports 777. Now up at the top of the hill here, arc around for turn number 10. And back to you, Joe.
Yep, it looks like they're working on that 57 car, and we're going to Sloan to see what she's got from Matt Million.
Over here at Stratus, we are very happy to see that the 57 is now going out again. Matt, you had issues earlier today with the power. What are your thoughts going forward? Are you worried about the race for tomorrow now that you guys are probably going to be starting in the back of the field? What are your thoughts?
I mean, that's kind of the whole point that we're here with the whole VLOX project for Sebeco. It's a whole new development. Looks very similar to the other MPO ones that are out there, but it's got a completely different engine package, a lot of other different electronics and aero pieces and things going on. So we're really just here for development, put miles on the chassis, put miles on all the componentry so that we can hopefully get it to customers end of this year, into next year potentially. Yeah, I mean, if we start back of the field tomorrow, it's totally fine. I mean, it's a 12-hour race. I don't think it's going to make too big of a difference. But, yeah, just having some electrical gremlins, we think, with the throttle positioning, but thinking we're getting closer to figuring it out. So hopefully we can have a smooth 12 hours tomorrow.
Electrical gremlins. That's a really fun way to describe it. Well, thank you for that information, and we'll see you out there later today.
Perfect. Thank you, Sloan.
Back to you guys.
Thanks for that, Sloan. I guess better to have it during this race than during the 12 hours. So, but like we heard Matt say, that there's a lot of learning besides just the racing going on for Sebeco and everything they've been doing with these NPO1s. Matt's been a big part of helping develop the teams, the tires, as well as many other factors behind the scenes. So, as we watch them continue to circulate, Shane Roberts has taken that second place, but he's not really run away from Ethan. Ethan staying right with him.
Been pretty impressed. I said it was going to come down to those lap times, and if Shane was going to be able to run away, and like you just pointed out, Ethan has done a tremendous job to stay right on the back spoiler of that. What color are we going to call this? Because it's not like a bright red. It's I'm not sure. Almost like a candy apple red?
Candy apple's good. I would have said like a burgundy or a wine kind of color. It's maroon. See, a little wiggle was well to the outside of the oak tree on the way in there. That's not a place where you want to lose traction.
No, and you're carrying so much speed, but I like it. We can call it a burgundy car, burgundy or maroon. I think that flows nicely, but last lap time, a 2:01.6, and their fastest has been sub 2 minutes, so I think that's representative of the drivers having to deal with that multi-class traffic and having to navigate around cars and some areas of the racetrack that's definitely costing them lap time. And now we've got another pair of these ZP2 machines off in a little race right here. This is the number 4 giving chase currently.
Sounds like Ramirez had a problem in his BMW M3. Had a bit of an off course, but they said he carried on. He's still running in 4th position, just outside of the podium. It's good to see him able to keep it going at this stage. And we do have quite a bit of damage on the Liqui-Moly BMW.
And I'm not sure if you heard that audio, but there is definitely some a splitter, I believe, maybe an undertrain. You can see it flapping around underneath the BMW right now. So not just that rear bumper hanging off, but I expect maybe this car went through a ride in the grass at some point.
Is this a Jenkins, I think, the 134 that I believe we're looking at? And yeah, he's going to have to bring it in because that bumper is not going to be deemed safe by race control without a doubt. Yep, it is indeed the 134. Now onto the back straightaway. Trying not to knock that one loose in everybody's way. And yeah, he's backed it down big time, knowing that the car is a bit of a danger, so just going to ease it home to the pits.
And I like what he did right there is that he saw a competitor on the racetrack and he let him by. He stayed driver's left, and once he realized the racetrack was clear, he moved driver's right. You think, well, that's not that big of a deal. Well, guess what? Pit entry is on driver's right here at VIR, so he is going to hang out on the right side of the racetrack, making his presence known, and he's not going to stray from that side. Nice job by the driver of the 134.
A lot more drama than I expected in interesting ways at the start of this sprint race. I figured maybe we'd get a few overeager drivers out there, but this has been a lot of technical problems. But Joey made a very good point that there was limited practice in the lead up to today's race, so it probably could be a big factor in why we're seeing so many gremlins appear out there. It is at least going to allow this car, the 134 of Jenkins, to find his way back into pit lane. There is the pit entry just on his way in. Nice and safe out of the way as our battle for P2 just goes by.
I also love seeing lots of haulers down there in the paddock. Feels like a proper race weekend out there as this battle for what is second place overall between Roberts Motorsports and Nimbus Racing still is going on. That last lap time, even a little bit slower, down to 2:05s, and they're about 8.5 seconds behind Lundqvist in that Stratus Racing machine that is the number 59, our overall leader currently. Turning laps about a half second, maybe 3/4 of a second slower than the car up front.
Ethan Barker one of those drivers that comes with quite an interesting background. Some more that more makes sense, I'd say, for this style of racing. Spec Miatas. You get a lot of drivers that come up through those ranks. Joey being one of them. F4 racing is very popular now. USF, but he's also done Trans Am and modifieds. But I think what is most interesting is he's also studying mechanical engineering at the same time. So he's been very well-rounded, not just inside the car, but hopping out of it. It sounds like he wants to be able to help in basically any stage of the process.
An interested brain that is always something good to have. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and especially as a racing car driver, most of your point of view is behind the steering wheel. And oh boy, here comes Ethan Barker. This could be a chance in the slipstream, and now going into the brake zone. The door opens up for Shane Roberts with that performance window of those ZP2 machines just being able to outbrake the other class in traffic. It got a little nervous, though, down that back straightaway. And, Joe, to your point about Ethan, I always think it's great to know what's going on underneath the bodywork. And the more knowledge you have with it, especially from an engineering background, it goes more than just the nuts and bolts on the car. Is how does that car and the systems actually work? That's always a great thing for the driver to learn.
So Jenkins sadly taking the 134 behind the wall, as you saw the message there. That does not mean that their race is necessarily over. We see many cars over the course of these Zenith races who will go back to the garage because they need more extensive repairs or just better tools at hand to try and diagnose a problem. So maybe there's a bit more than just the bodywork to try and reapply to that car that we weren't aware of. Interesting how there is a bit of a back and forth, an ebb and a flow between these two in this battle for P2 for the ZP2 cars, because I thought Barker was going to be not left behind necessarily, but I thought the gap would be bigger by now. I wonder if he's just using that traffic very well to his advantage.
I think you're spot on with it. It's got to be the traffic. So the fastest laps out of our top three, I'm going to include Lundqvist in this because he's just up the road. A 59.3, a 59.6, and a 59.8. Those are our top three fastest lap times. Now we'll go over to our last lap time, 59.6 from our leader, a 201.3 out of Shane Roberts, a 2:09 out of Ethan Barker. So those are varying quite a bit out there based off of how fast they can go. I think a lot of it's traffic and a lot of it's rhythm, but look at the slipstream effect. This is the longest straightaway we've had in Zenith Racing Series. Ethan Barker using it to full effect here on the back straight at VIR. The top speed for the number 77 machine is going to carry him into second place.
Nicely done. Timed it just right to get his way up there. Curious if he listened to his favorite song before getting into the car. I love this, the information we've been given. He just listed his favorite song to get him hyped up as Batman song. I don't. We'll have to send our pit reporters to get clarification on that. I don't know what that means.
Now, Joe, I'm picturing Lego Batman because that I could totally get pumped up to some Lego Batman.
I mean, you could take it as modern grizzly dark Batman, or you could go 60s Batman, and he's got the going on. Yeah. So there's a few different ways, but I'll see if I can text a message to our pit reporters and try to gather that once he hops out of the car. For now, he's got to focus on what's happening on the circuit, and a nice job to find his way back up into P2 past Roberts.
Yeah, nice job by Ethan Barker out there, and now he's the one with the clean air, and going to see exactly what he can do now that he's back up in the second place.
Meanwhile, I believe that, we'll be going to our reporters in just a second. We're waiting just a moment here. Now we've got them ready. Jonathan has caught up with the 134 team.
Dan Taylor out of the car. We saw a little bit of damage. You brought it in. Quick examination. Now back behind the wall. What happened?
Well, going into one, I'd been consistently braking the same spot, and, brake fade. Brake pedal went pretty much to the floor. I went, okay, here we go. We're going off. I just thought, you know what, if I don't get this thing slowed down in time, so I spun the car around, backed it in because there's going to be less damage to the back than it would be the front. So, I was consistently braking the same spot. You look at my lap times, is within a half second each time, same exact brake spot. So we'll re-examine it. These pads, maybe I need to do a little bit more pop right before the big brake zone, and we'll get it back on the track here shortly.
Did you feel anything in the race car up until that point that gave you an indication there might be brake trouble coming?
No. I practiced this morning for probably 30 minutes. It was a little bit quicker, but it was cooler, and no, I didn't have any problems this morning. Other guys went out the rest of the day, so we didn't really have any issues the rest of the day. So we'll take a look at it and see if it was driver error, which my colleagues maybe I should have not took it so aggressive. But again, I get pretty consistent on my laps and where I'm braking, so we'll take a look at it.
I know we have 12 hours of racing tomorrow. We can see the big mission crew getting to work on the rear end. Any chance we'll see you back out later today?
There's a chance for today. Squared away, it's not significant enough that we can't get back on the track tomorrow.
Dan, thank you very much. Best of luck. Guys.
No, that was very smart thinking on his part to kind of lessen the damage on the important parts of the car. You could see them getting drills and all kinds of tools out to try and get that back into place. But back with, it looks like we're watching Shane Roberts. He has repassed Barker, I think, since we last looked.
I have a feeling, kind of going back to what we were talking about maybe 15 minutes ago or so, this 2.5-hour race is going to be used a lot as a test session, as a practice session. Some of it's going to be the teams having to figure out those woes that we just saw, like the Big Mission Motorsports team. Some of them are out there trying to figure out, hey, how does this car actually race? Where can we make the moves? Is our best opportunity down to the end of the back straightaway? Is the best opportunity maybe into turn number 1 instead? So I have a feeling that these drivers are feeling out their competition and their cars at the same time.
14 of Ren Messenger and his CR3 BMW M2 CSR still leading handily. In fact, if I'm seeing correctly, it's somewhere in the realm of about a minute over Gray in that number 73 machine. They still have Piatek in between them currently, so they are split out there as we're seeing a few of the different class cars kind of separated by other vehicles. Riding up the back straightaway. I think we're watching on board the 57 now that they have finally returned to the track. Unfortunately, multiple laps down.
Yeah, so it shows Colin Garrett in right now inside this number 57. Like you said, multiple laps down. However, it is still valuable track time. And here, this is 4th gear coming out onto the front straightaway, 5th gear. Now, these cars are 6-speed gearboxes. However, the racetracks that we've been to, they just haven't been able to stretch their legs. And sure enough, there it is, clicking it up into 6th gear about halfway down the front straightaway. And about the 5 brake marker, hard on that brake pedal pressure. I am getting word from race control. Car 909 spun at turn number 14. That is the corner off of the end of the back straightaway.
Yeah, and Pelosi is shown in the car, and interestingly, I was seeing pictures behind the scenes that they're currently sitting with their crew, but nobody's really moving around it in a hurry, so I'm not sure what is going on. And now they've got somebody kind of holding it, so it looks like they may be waving it off shortly, or at least hopefully to get them back out onto the circuit. They're currently running in 6 in the ZP2 cars, and yeah, they are now going to be returning to the circuit. So glad to see them back out there. There was the 908 of Brandon Kidd. That car has just returned to the track actually itself shortly after a pit stop, as they're showing on an outlap.
It's not uncommon to see a lot of these cars, if they do have an incident on the racetrack, to bring it into pit lane and have the crew at least take a look at it, right? And say, hey, is there anything hanging off of the car? Do we need to bring it back to the garage to replace some parts? Is everything A-okay? And I think that's exactly what Automatic Racing was doing there with the 909.
Now, we just saw on the screen that it actually went behind the wall, so there could be more to things. Sloan is telling us that the car just spun. Quick evaluation, and they're back out. We'll have to double check.
I think that was for the turn number 14 spin, Joe.
No, we had a message that came up that said they were behind the wall.
Oh, I see what you're talking about now. Yeah, no, I should pay attention a little bit closer.
It's okay. There's more cars to try and track out here today, and definitely a lot happening considering the situation. Here's the number 3 of Kuto. We haven't really talked about him a whole lot. Car 24 back on course after a bit of an off track as well. So more drama happening. I said that this track was a handful for these drivers, and boy, is it. What is it about this place, Joey, that seems to be so challenging?
It's fast. It's extremely fast, and it's narrow. Well, it's wider than what once was, but it can still be a relatively narrow track at some points. And I think that the speed is extremely rewarding, especially up here in sections like turn number 10 and turn number 14, where we just had that issue with the 909 car. Very, very fast sections of the racetrack where you can shave lots of lap time.
Does sound like Jonathan's got a couple updates for us. Jonathan, what's the news?
Updates on competitors in the ZP2 class. We saw the 5 car come in. It was Carter Peace behind the wheel. Just made an adjustment change. The crew said they were a little bit off the pace. It's focused forward for tomorrow, using the rest of the session as an opportunity to test and tune. They said they were specifically looking at the rear end of that prototype race car and making some compression changes around this fast and undulating Virginia circuit. Also, the 908, the mechanical black flag, basically used as a conduit to bring that car in because they were having communication issues with the driver. So nothing mechanically wrong with that car that we or the team can identify. More so race control helping the team out to get their driver in when they couldn't communicate with him on the radio. Sloan is in the middle of tracking down an update on the 909, who came in and went back out and behind the wall quickly. We'll continue to keep you updated, as it's been a chaotic couple of minutes so far in this sprint race, guys.
Chaos is the name of the game. Sometimes we got 3 classes out there on track. And coming out of the horseshoe here, that 3 has found a friend. Now, I don't think that's the 77. That must be a lapped car.
That's the 908 of Brandon Kidd. I was able to spot the number board on the side there for you.
Yeah, and that's what we just heard the update on from Jonathan. So their transponder issues seem to be kind of put out of the way, at least for the time being, and hopefully we'll see them be able to stay out on track. There is a good example of the speed differences we watch from the drone between themselves and one of our GT classes, at least when you're coming out of some fast corners. The GT cars, when they get to these long straights, it'll be a different story.
And, these cars do make a good amount of downforce. However, the dirty air that is kicked up by them, it isn't necessarily tremendous. So you can see the number 3 car really able to follow right behind that number 908 and not be affected by any of that dirty air. I think, one, it's because the aerodynamic devices aren't necessarily huge on these cars. And then we've been mentioning the top speed on the ZP2 machines. While it is impressive, it isn't necessarily well above 140, 150 miles an hour as the number 3 car of Kuto does make the move there on the back straightaway. So you combine the, call it more medium top speeds and a little bit more leaning towards the mechanical grip level, and these cars have a very good raceability factor.
Nice job by Kidd to just allow the 3 car on through. He's got a ways to go to catch up to Barker, does that number 3. So Kuto does not want to be held up at this point to try and get himself back in the mix here. So currently our lead in each of the classes is Lundqvist up at the top in the number 59 for the ZP2s. That has not changed since the beginning. Jakowitz in the 99 for the ZR2 cars currently leads there. And then Ren Messenger also since the start of the race in the number 14 for the ZR3 class currently at the top spot. We are just about 50 minutes into this race so far. Have to imagine we're getting a little bit closer to where we could see a few pit stops take place.
Excellent point. Typically, we've seen it, right about an hour, right? Wasn't it at Barber right just over an hour? And of course, different racetracks have different fuel consumptions levels. I would expect the cars here at VIR, just given the straightaways that are involved and also the extra length, to be a little bit shy based off of the numbers that we've seen in the previous couple of rounds.
Of course, with the new series, does mean that each track we're all kind of figuring out what those pit windows will look like. We got a vague idea thanks to the information we've got, and the teams have got too. Some like to keep that close to their chest, at least for now. Did hear that Sloan is saying the 94 might be coming in soonish, so we'll keep an eye out for that team. As Ian Barbary, currently in that M4, running second in the ZR2s, is a long ways back from the leader in that class, but you never know. We've seen strategy allow drivers to find their way back into the hunt. No doubt the dogs are barking with those tires getting very old. They'll need a little bit of a cool down behind the scenes there for the grip to start to come back to them. In the meantime, we watch that 908 run on his lonesome after a technical problem with the transponder has put them behind the 8-ball. That is the 3 of Kuto, who runs in 4th with a long ways to go to get to the podium.
Yes, I apologize. Jet and Noodle were making their presence known over here as we're coming up on that 1 hour mark. And I'm curious with you, Joe. Pit stops, they're going to be coming quite plenty here and pretty soon.
Up and over the crest. Now we get some GT battles. Haven't got to watch them as much in this race. They've all separated quite quickly out here, but glad to see that there is some action between them, although this lead car very much running away at this stage is the 73. And I don't think that's our leader. No, it looks like that is a lapped car, so that might not be a battle for position. That's Gray in the following machine. Messenger is on my screen showing far, far ahead of that BMW M3 from Gray Performance. And then we've got another big gap down to Lipple in the other AOA car, where that Gray machine or Gray Performance machine is currently kind of sandwiched in. And speaking of the pit stops, I just saw the 109 pop in on our timing screen.
Oh, great timing there. So we'll kind of have to keep an eye on Shane Roberts and exactly how long that's going to take. And remember, this is a 2.5 hour race, so do the math. That is just shy of 1 hour out there. I'm going to be looking at about 55 minutes for some of these ZP2 machines. That's at least our first data point.
Absolutely. Kuto also in the 3. And the 73 also having pit now. Ethan Barker in the 77 stays out. He'll keep into second place thanks to that. He and Shane Roberts have traded back and forth for that position. Love these onboards, especially with the over-the-shoulder cam we've got in the right-hand corner there to really show you the G-forces that these drivers experience in these little prototypes, especially through this part up and over South Bend, and then slamming on the brakes here as he just chucks it into Oak Tree.
And it's not just slamming on the brakes, right? It's balancing on it, especially in the second half of that corner. You jump on them in the first half and then really have to bleed off of that pedal pressure in order to not lock it up completely as you let the car roll and have to turn it in for what is turn number 12, the Oak Tree corner, and then it is just flat out up into 6th gear, top gear here. Pick your brake marker on the right side, and once again, a not straight brake zone leading into roller coaster section, all downhill where you really have to just kind of feel out the car, especially in turns 16 and 17. Jump over that left curb and bury the car into the racetrack there through hog pen to really get it to dig through and accelerate onto the front straightaway.
Definitely another very long straight, this one. Not quite as long as Madison Avenue, but it is important to get yourself the run. With all of these pit stops, it sounds like Jonathan's going to be quite busy down there. Jonathan, who have you got? Apologies for the slight technical issues. We'll try and get back to them in a little bit here. See what was said about the driver swaps, I assume, coming up shortly. Definitely want to practice those. Remember, we do have no minimum pit stop times here in this series, and we have no minimum drive times as well. It is very much the Wild West on that front. So teams can get a little bit tricky on the strategy, and it has produced some interesting results on that front, Joey, that pit strategy. It's kind of been make or break in this series.
And I'm just doing the fuel numbers because we're talking about it, right? We're talking about the pit stops. We're talking about the strategy. If the cars can make it roughly an hour on fuel, it opens up some doors, because you could opt to say, hey, you know what? We made it an hour. Let's go ahead, short stop it here in this middle stint, and then fill it completely full at the end of stint number 2, and that'll get us to the end, right? Or the other strategy is you run it full for the 1 hour, stint number 1, full for the second stint. So that takes you to about 30 minutes remaining in the race, and then you short fill it there to the end. So I think that there's a couple of options on the table, and the drivers and the teams, we're just going to have to patiently wait to see what they choose to do.
Just saw Pease move up one more position overall in the 5 car. So he went by Barbary, who still is in pit lane in the 94. In fact, pretty sure that's been a long pit stop, because if they're still in there from when I first called it, that's been multiple minutes since we've seen them enter into the lane. And this is coming back out of the snake as the 555 continues to try and run away. That's the 77, currently running in second. Still waiting on a pit stop from Barker and that Nimbus Racing team, who's not really been running down our leader in the 59. Still have a wide gap to catch up to them. But you never know what could happen out there, especially if we do get another code 60 to slow things down. Now would be a great time for a number of teams, without a doubt, if we get a car stopped. But you can't bank on anything, because, Joey, we've had races where it seems like the code 60s just keep coming, and some where it just keeps just rolling on like nothing's happening.
You're right. We've had races where it just kind of seems to, what's the saying? When it rains, it pours, right? And it's just been code 60, and then another code 60, and then another code 60. And we have seen those play in effect in terms of the strategy and the fuel consumption towards the end of the races as well. However, when it comes to strategy, you cannot bank on a code 60 or a full course yellow flag. You cannot guarantee that it is going to happen. It's just one of those things that you have to adapt to. And here comes the number 77 of Ethan Barker from Nimbus Racing. They're going to opt to make their pit stop, and look at the timer. Just now clicking to about 1 hour, 30 minutes remaining, right at 1 hour of full fuel burn.
Wow. It's impressive right there. So timing for them should be relatively simple. Also, the 99 has pit in and out, and I believe we've got Jeffrey Siegel in that car now. So they've switched out. So the Team GTR is well on their way, still far and ahead of the rest of their field. So no dramas, and obviously just want to try and, like we said, use this as an extended practice session to prepare for tomorrow. So far, so good. Is this, Joey, where it's almost like the theater, where you want a bad dress rehearsal for a good race, or do you want it to go all well for this one?
Well, let me tell you, when they say go break a leg, hopefully it doesn't happen on Friday before a Saturday race.
Absolutely. A little bit more literal, I think, here than in the theater. But so we watch a little bit more of that traffic come through the oak tree, that 98 machine, currently running in 20th overall. That is Walco for the Random Vandals car. Random Vandals is a team that has been a bit in and out here in these ZP2 cars, but has definitely been a welcome addition since they've got their fingers in all kinds of different series, racing sports cars all over North America, and have certainly been fun to watch out in this series because they came out swinging.
Yeah, we saw them at the opening round out in Sonoma Raceway, and then missed them a little while back at Barber Motorsports Park. So great to see Random Vandals in that. Of course, what has come to be their scheme with the green, white, and black out there. You can't miss them. And of course, what a great crew and team to hang around as well. Always welcoming. And speaking of, they're actually dipping into pit lane. So, Joe, I think we found kind of our rough fuel number, at least for the ZP2 class. Now, this is kind of an air quotes over here still, but it's right about 1 hour.
I think a rough measure gives us at least a good picture. Now, when it gets to the nitty-gritty at the end of these races, today not so much, but tomorrow absolutely, fuel strategy will probably be a bigger factor, knowing who can make it and who cannot. But I don't know, sometimes having that sort of vague range instead of an exact number almost adds more drama, because then we're left wondering, can they make it? Can they not? Is it going to have to be a splash and dash right at the end?
Watching some of these cars go around the racetrack here. This is, of course, one of our ZR2 class cars. This is the number 99, I believe, racing out there in that Team GTR 99. So they are actually sitting up inside the podium positions overall. As get a little bit of a warning down there on pit lane protocol from race control. And back to my point about that purple ZR2 car being up inside the top three. Joe, that's not the first time we've seen one of these, once again, in air quotes over here, slower ZR2 classed cars, mixing it up with the faster ZP2 classed machines.
Very much so, and it's been kind of fun in that sense. I'm sure it's not as fun, especially if you're the prototypes out there. Our leader pits in, by the way. Also got word from Sloan that the 98 has been in, and I believe, yeah, they're showing is coming out. Walco has gotten out of the car, and Kevin Bohm, there is a popular name in sports car racing here in North America, has gotten into the car to take over. So Will Lundqvist also hop out of his car and hand over the 59 to one of his teammates.
Beautiful weekend for racing. I know we talked about it when we first started this show, but I mean, it looks picturesque right now in terms of the weather in Virginia. You see, like you mentioned, Joe, the number 59 in pit lane getting their service done as the action still is happening out there on the racetrack. And I have a feeling that the ZR2 and ZR3 cars, they're going to be in a roughly similar fuel window. I'm going to start to pay attention a little bit more to those classes, see if it'll give us some hints in terms of tomorrow's strategy, especially in those closing hours when we're really trying to crunch the numbers.
I did check the weather, and it's showing at 88 Fahrenheit air temperature out in Danville, Virginia, which is kind of one of the near towns that you've got here by VIR. So it is going to be a little toasty, I'm sure. And as we heard from Jonathan, it's probably relatively humid, as it typically is in this area of Virginia, right on the North Carolina border. McGurk, by the way, did get in for Lundqvist in the number 59. So Stratus Racing has switched their drivers out, and they'll carry on to try and take him, what I assume will be close to the finish, since we only have an hour and a half left to go. We're getting close, actually, to the halfway mark of this race.
And that's kind of what I was leading into with the strategy, right? I feel like the teams have kind of two solid options on the table. They could short stint this, or they could short stint the final stint of the race. Just going to be up to them. If it was me, I'd be packing it full of fuel. However, when you have to deal with multiple drivers and practice time out there, there's always a few different strategies to make sure all of the drivers are comfortable, especially going into tomorrow.
And a counter as well. If you, well, actually, you said packet full of fuel. I thought you meant that you would try and switch them out shortly. But yeah, I feel like it, like your point, make more sense to kind of run them long here at the start. Hold off to see if you get a code 60. Try and take advantage of that. Maybe pit them in then, and you could have a nice short pit stop.
And not to interrupt you, but just given what today is, right? It's the first ever sprint race of Zenith Racing Series. Points necessarily aren't on the line in terms of the championship. So, I mean, why not try some things out here? Why not get a little bit of creative in terms of that strategy, knowing that really the race is tomorrow?
That's a very good point. Yeah, we haven't touched on that a whole lot, that this is essentially just a for fun race out there.
I'm sorry, but the number 77 just had a huge lockup into turn number 3. I saw it off on one of my screens and thankfully didn't make impact with another car. But I mean, both front tires completely locked going into it's turn number 4. I'm sorry.
Now that is Ethan Barker's car, and he's on an outlap. I wonder if that's a new driver in the car. We'll see if timing and scoring updates once he crosses the line, as we got another car off. And suddenly we have drivers having all kinds of problems. That's the 94 team. Our second place in the ZR2s, Fardos, having an adventure onto Madison Avenue.
Probably just trying to get on the gas a little bit too soon. And you saw, thankfully, was able to recover the car and rejoin at a nice parallel angle. Anytime you're rejoining the racetrack, you want to run alongside the racetrack. You don't want to be perpendicular at all. And thankfully, on the straightaway, it makes it nice and easy. And you're right, the number 94 back up to speed after taking a little bit of a wild ride out of Oak Tree. We're going to see if he brings it into pit lane. The car seems to be at speed, and he's confident with it. So I wouldn't doubt to see him stay out on the racetrack.
Yep, just going to carry on. A big shout out to Sloan. She's saying that full tank for the ZR2 class is just under an hour. So that's going to be close to what we've been seeing with the ZP2s as well. That'll at least make tracking that a little bit easier. And those two cars, only 2 of them out there in this race. We'll see more tomorrow. Means that we probably will only see them one more time during this race. So as we've just about hit that halfway mark, McGurk currently up at the front in the 59, but sounds like Jonathan has caught up with one of our drivers down on pit lane. Let's head to Mr. Grace.
Brendan Kidd, another one. First of all, how was your car? We saw a lot of the cars coming in and out of pit lane for a little bit more than just their normal fuel stop. How was your stint?
Yeah, it was challenging to say the least. I feel like we kind of just started the weekend outside of the box. We've had radio issues, we've had mechanical issues, but overall the car is pretty good. We just got to put some laps in. I haven't been here in like 3 years, so just getting comfortable again, and Sebastian's first time here as well. So just trying to get everyone comfortable. We're really just using this as a practice session because practice 3 we lost a lot of time in the garage. So we're just trying to make up some ground here.
Well, I suppose a few benefits. One, I don't think you're unique in the fact that you're treating the sprint race as a test session for 12 hours tomorrow, and the other benefit is twofold. Is the main event, it comes on Saturday. What have you learned so far in the test session, so to speak, that you can apply tomorrow?
Well, we got to pick up some speed. I mean, normally we're up there with the top guys, but I don't know where we're going to find 2-3 seconds. I mean, we got to do something here. So I'm just trying to get everyone some laps. It's going to be a long race tomorrow, so I don't know where we're going to start, but we're going to just try and not take a lot of risk in the beginning. And our issue has been finishing the races. We're always really quick, but we just can't seem to get to the end, so we're going to try and do that tomorrow.
Some of your other ZP2 class competitors have been making setup changes even in this session, complaining of rear compression, even some front-end feel. I know these cars are particularly difficult to drive when the tires are under load. How was the balance on your car?
Well, we had the same issue. And we ended up making a compression change in the rear, and it was like night and day. I think we picked up almost a second. So we might need to do a little bit more of that. So we'll see. We're just trying some stuff here, and
apologies. Seems to have lost our feed for just a bit of a second, but I'm glad that we've come back to our ZP2 cars, because that 77 that I mentioned may have a driver change. Indeed, saw Gavin Vaughn hop into that Nimbus racing car that you see on screen right now. So yeah, just getting reacclimated, Joey, I think, after getting in the car and discovering that the brakes are a little finicky.
You know, each car can have its own little quirks out there, but seems like Vaughn has now settled into things. We've seen these slipstream battles, especially down the back straightaway, and a nice change of position right there. So the 77 is going to go up that one spot there. And, you know, I take that back. He's not actually going to gain the spot because he is a little bit further down in terms of the laps now. But just kind of a good example of the racing that's going to happen here at VIR, especially tomorrow. Haven't been able to see these cars really use that toe and use that slipstream given the first couple of racetracks. I think the racing is going to be quite different tomorrow, and the drivers are going to have to adapt.
Apologies. Sounds like that was a different car from the 77. We're still trying to track that down. So apologies to Vaughn for saying that he had locked it up. He did not. Even still, it does look like it's difficult conditions. Sloan doing the hard work today as dug up that it's about an hour 15, it sounds like, in the ZR3 class that the drivers are going to be able to go at maximum. And that definitely takes them right up to about now. So they could go on a single stop to get to the end, but it's going to be tight.
Big time shout out to Sloan giving us all of that information. It really helps us as commentators behind the scenes because it allows us to kind of track timing and scoring just out a little bit better on who has already completed their pit stop cycle, who have we yet to see. And when we have those three different classes, sometimes it can be tough to really follow all of them individually. So really happy to have both Sloan and Jonathan on the ground on pit road this weekend. Invaluable amounts of help from them.
And Jonathan just made a good point to us back behind the scenes, saying that the ZR3s can make it, but probably need a long code 60. Now, we've had one, but it was a pretty short one. So
it was short, Joe, but as long as the drivers know. Now, once again, non-points, so you can kind of try some things, right? And why not try to see how long you can stretch it? You just can't start in the middle of a fuel stint. The driver has to get in and start from the pace laps or start from that initial out lap of saving the fuel right then immediately. You can't just start it halfway in.
This the saying goes, you can't dig half a hole. So you've really got to commit to it from the start. And
my dogs will disagree.
Sounds like a you problem is somebody having a little bit of a campfire in the background there, interestingly. Curious who's enjoying the summer weather, but we get a nice view up above here down Madison Avenue as a few more of our GT cars carry on the laps. Our ZP2 is actually up to lap 34 already in today's exhibition sprint race for ZRS here at Virginia International Raceway, still being led by McGurk in that 59, and I believe it close to a whole lap ahead of second place Roberts Motorsports, with Pope currently in the car.
That's what I see as well. I think that the times, or I should say that the performance level between those two cars that you were just mentioning, a lot closer than what the distance is on track between them. Both have been able to turn a very fast 1:59 in terms of their best lap time. And here in this 2.5-hour race, they're feeling out the other multi-class traffic, figuring out where exactly is the best place to present these smaller ZP2 cars. You got to remember just the roofline, the profile of those cars, quite a bit smaller than a production-based car that you're going to see in, call it the ZR2 and ZR3 class. So you can't necessarily just throw it up the inside, and sometimes these other drivers aren't going to necessarily be aware that you're right there next to them on the racetrack, and that's exactly what today is for. First of all, feel out what a sprint race is going to do here in Zenith Racing Series, and second of all, get comfortable for the big race tomorrow.
Hey, you make a good point about just being able to be aware of a car coming up. Multi-class racing, very much its own skill. In sports cars, it's becoming more and more the norm as you get a little bit of wheel-to-wheel action. The 73 holding it the long way around off the 44, coming through Oak Tree, but eventually has to give up the Ghost.
And that, I believe, like you said, is the 44 out there, and couple different generations of BMW, actually 3 different generations and chassis of BMW right there on the back straightaway. Pretty neat to see. Some of them 6-cylinder, some of them have a couple more. Of course, those older E90, E92 cars had those big old BMW V8s in them still.
We've got we're now past the official halfway mark, hour and 14 left to go on the clock. The good news is, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this, is we haven't seen any messages from race control in quite some time. We had a pit lane protocol warning, and that was it a long time ago. That was for the 3 car. In fact, I think it was a different driver at the time. Well, I guess it would have been the same that we have now because Gorshkov has since hopped in, but that would have been right after their pit stops. So we watch our 2 BMWs come out of the horseshoe up to NASCAR Bend. Does look like they've actually got that number 3, round 3 racing car quickly approaching behind. We'll see how fast they're going to have to deal with the lap traffic, and will that affect this battle?
The call it dark blue BMW right there in the middle. I'm a big nerd for. I've had a couple of E36 chassis BMWs in my lifetime. Absolutely love the size of that car. And those were made throughout the 90s and imported here to North America. Now we're going to catch back up just a couple corners prior on the racetrack to this fantastic ZP2 battle. I believe this is the number 4 car of Camden Hibbett. That's the yellow and white machine, chasing down another ZP2 machine. This is coming up to what is turn number 10 on the racetrack, and there you see a bunch of traffic right there in front of them. You're not going to catch them on the back straightaway. I have a feeling, Joe, it's going to be more towards the front straightaway, and these drivers in these smaller ZP2 prototype machines are going to have to work their way through some pretty significant traffic.
Boy, do they ever. And as they come up towards the end of the straightaway, yeah, you can see that they're not really gaining all that quickly, at least at this point. That round 3 racing team has seen some pretty good success so far, some really good speed as well with the 2 cars that they have out there, the 3 and the 4. I believe they've also got the 5. Kenny a little bit farther down the order, unfortunately, after having some issues, but they are running from what I can see on my timing and scoring. But you mentioned the various different types of BMWs. This is not a BMW specific series. As I mentioned before, we do have a Cayman that is still running on track. But I think the thing that we should mention, because this is a somewhat newer series, the biggest factor here is that this is not a homologated series in the same way that we're so used to with multi-class racing. These classes are determined by power to weight ratio. So there is a lot of experimentation that is being done out there by these teams. There's a lot of teams that are bringing something unique. That's why you're seeing these BMWs from the 90s that are competing with modern prototype cars.
It's a pretty fun formula, and I think it goes, or I should say, I think it speaks to a lot of club racers out there, a lot of grassroots racers out there that have various forms of race cars. And check out the traffic directly in front. This is a checkup for Clay McGurk. He's in that first of the ZP2 machines, and he smartly, wisely lets off of the gas. He realizes that even if you pass one car, there's still a pair more BMWs after that. The number 4 car of Camden Hibbett evidently got the word as well. They are not trying to force the issue. I think that this is extremely heads-up driving, and also a reason why a lot of these competitors want to come and race at Zenith Racing Series. You don't get the elbows out forcing a competitor off of the racetrack. Camden made a nice move down there into what was turn number 11. But everybody, they've got the same goal in mind, right? They want to win. They want to collect a checkered flag. However, they also want to smile at the end of the weekend.
Exactly. And oh my goodness, this is getting a little bit interesting here.
Awesome.
And look at
fantastic.
BMW pulling away, but now just does not have the braking power. And look at the difference that makes as the other ZP2 just has to sit and wait patiently so that he doesn't cause an accident in the brake zone. And so many car lengths between the pair of them in that process. Sloan is telling us that the track conditions are tough and, quote, brake zones are sketchy out there.
It has to do with the temperatures, right? I think we heard upper 80s, maybe even 90 degrees ambient temperature. You convert that into the track, it is going to be well above 110 degrees on the track itself. And whenever you reach those temperatures, everything just seems to get a little bit more slippery. You combine that with the extremely high speeds that we've got here at VIR. Where's the first place you're going to notice it? At the end of a straightaway doing 150 miles an hour, and you jump on that brake pedal pressure, and all of a sudden the car doesn't want to stop as good. That's what grabs your attention, Joe.
Jonathan was having a chat with Brandon Kidd a little bit earlier as we got a spin.
Ooh.
And again, great heads up by our prototype drivers and all the action out on track. I'm trying to make out the number of the car that's come to a halt.
That was
I think
Alex
that's 85.
Pollard. Yeah, Alex Pollard in the 85 machine, currently running second in the ZR3 class, Joe.
Not anymore. That's going to be Bruce now in the 444. As he's lost a number of positions. The 555 just pitted in, but we're also hearing that both the 908 and 909 teams from Automatic Racing have just gone behind the wall. So we've... Go ahead.
I wouldn't be too surprised about that. I think we got some word from Sloan a little bit earlier that Automatic Racing is going to use the majority of this 2.5 hour race out here, but they're not sure if they're going to completely close it out. So maybe it was just they checked off everything that they needed to in terms of the session.
I mean, why put more stress through it if you're mainly here for the points? Because she says that the crew's not even under the tent anymore. So, yeah, that to me says that, like you said, they got what they wanted. They're going to take the cars back. They're going to kind of break them down and make sure that everything's in good condition for tomorrow. But they don't want to put any more stress on the equipment than is necessary.
I also hear that the number 94 is on pit lane. That is our second place runner in ZR2. Of course, that's the 94 Motorsports machine. I understand that they are checking the tires, making sure the pressures are okay in that machine. And I wonder if they're going to resume to the racetrack as we get these overhead shots of Jeff Siegel driving the Team GTR 99 machine. That is our leader in that purple ZR2 class. The ZP class is the prototype class, and then the ZR classes, they are production-based cars out there. And of course, like you heard Joe Peak say just a few minutes ago, all based off of that power-to-weight ratio.
Yeah, Jeff's a wealth management company owner by day, also does financial advisory stuff in his spare time, I guess you could call it, as he moonlights here racing. But he's been doing it for quite some time. In fact, he started just from driving a Skip Barber school day and said he was hooked since then, but has since competed in all kinds of various sports car series here in North America. But also what I find interesting, because we've heard this story before, Joey. He used to be a ski instructor.
Oh, yes, we have. And lots of downhill skiers, right? And I think that anybody that grows up in a competition environment doesn't have to be downhill skiing. It can be track and field. It can be various high school or collegiate sports. They have that drive, and then all of a sudden, they find their way back to racing at some point in life. And you're right. I think that maybe the downhill ski racers find their way to a racetrack a little bit quicker and maybe a little bit more aggressively. That's just kind of their nature.
I agree with you. Okaranza, our leader in the ZR3s for AOA, has taken over the 14 from his teammate. Jonathan says that stop for the 94 was just for checking tire pressures, so there's no drama there. Another team just utilizing this to kind of gather what info they can, especially since that 94 is chasing that 99, but they've got multiple laps between them, so there's really no point in not trying to do what they can to use this session to their advantage. So AOA Racing has been running a fantastic season there in the ZR3s, because Ocaranza actually shares the championship lead right now with Luca Roth and who we saw a little bit earlier in this session, Ren Messenger. In fact, they've got the biggest gap of the three classes to P2 in the points, and even with that, it's still only 7 points to the next car down.
You're taking away my talking points, Joe. You start talking about them, so I'm like, all right, let's get some good info here. And by the time you're ready to hand it off to me, you've already covered everything that I had looked up. And yeah, to your
Would you
point,
like to know his favorite dessert as well?
I'll see if we can get Jonathan and Sloan to maybe give us some more info on stuff like that. But you're right. Biggest gap between first and second is that ZR3 class, and Max doing a terrific job. The one thing that I was going to point out that you didn't say, Joe, the lap times from that AOA racing machine, that number 14 that we were following, significantly faster than anybody else in class. A 212.9 was the last time. Compare that to second place, a 216.8.
Did have an off track for the 73 of Liam Gray. Seeing who is sharing that car, and don't quite have that info up here. So, excuse me, no, that's E Gray, and I don't have who that is sharing that machine. Another one we'll have to see if we could get some first names on that one as well. In the meantime, back to some of our Stratus Racing on boards coming up through the hog pen area and onto the main straight, seeing our lone Cayman pit in.
Like I had mentioned, using every single gear available here at VIR as we're riding on board the number 57 car from Stratus Racing. And I was trying to grab that brake marker. I missed it because they were going by so fast here. But I'm really curious, if we do ride on board with this, what the gear selections are going to be, especially through here, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So down to third gear, but still in the lights. Is there going to be up to fourth before? No. So leave it in third gear. Just extend the revs before we get to that brake zone at turn 4. Then everything narrows down all the way down to second gear. And now it's going to be foot flat on the floor. And check this out. Under the bridge, already in fifth gear, through the middle of fifth gear. I bet you he's going to be clicking sixth gear right as he turns into these uphill S's here. Maybe the rev rise right in the middle, but I mean, that kind of shows you how fast these cars are moving flat out through the uphill S's.
And wasn't it back at Barber that we found out the drivers didn't even get into top gear over at that track, I believe?
And that was my point, is that we weren't even seeing sixth gear, and some of the cars weren't even reaching fifth gear. So here at VIR, these ZP2 machines finally getting to stretch their legs a little bit. So
let's see how high he can get it going up at the end of the straightaway. Just at about 5,300 revs before finally has to bring it down. And then hopping over, actually a little bit up the road, it looks like, to another of our ZR2 cars with Clay McGurk here. No, we're going to switch back around in the meantime. Oh, no, we are on Clay McGurk's car. Excuse me.
And I'm curious here, if we get the dash.
That one's up to 6.
Didn't quite get to see it. I know that they do have the speed on the bottom right part of the dashboard itself. So I was curious to see what kind of speeds, because they were already doing about 110 miles an hour by the time they crossed where pit entry was. And I bet you it accelerated well north of, call it about 135, maybe approaching 140 at these cars. There is a nice big time wiggle going through what was turn 4 on the racetrack. And that's an area, Joe, that a lot of the drivers are going to be using those apex curbs, right? It's not necessarily a super high speed section where you're using the aerodynamic devices and you want the platform completely stable. That's an area that the driver is trying to shorten the racetrack as much as they can.
Certainly been a fascinating race, and we only have 1 hour left to go now to wrap up this non-points race that's being led by McGurk in the 59, who we ride on board with, using up plenty of the track on the exit. That is within the boundaries. Obviously was added some years ago here at VIR when they widened the circuit. And other than that, there's really not much in the way of paved runoff at most parts of the track. In fact, really isn't sand traps or gravel traps around this circuit. It's definitely a bit of an unusual one, even over here in North America, where you get tracks that are a little bit more, I don't want to say dangerous, but definitely on edge than you see over on European tracks.
Right on board here with the 777. Of course, this is the big Mission Motorsports car. Down through the hog pen section. I had mentioned you really got to bury the car into turn 17 there. You physically have to drive the front end into the compression, because if you act like it's a completely flat corner, you are leaving a ton of time on the table. Just when you hit that compression, you have all of this extra load and extra grip that will really drive the car around turn number 17. And I have a feeling that's one of the deceiving corners at VIR, just because you have to trust the car that it is going to grip up. If you have it too stiffly sprung or set too low in terms of the ride height, it can definitely bounce out from underneath you. It's kind of the two-edged sword of how fast do you drive it in there versus how compliant do you want the car, and it's up to the driver and the team to strike that balance.
You saw the graphic saying Spencer Curry 12th. That's overall. He's 6th within the ZR3 class. This is the number 4 of Camden Hibbett, who has hopped back in, another young gun that we see a lot of those in these prototypes. And I do love to see this, that we have drivers all up and down the age range in this series, Joey, but the prototypes very much feel like these are the ones that are working to try and get their career going, that are getting their first opportunity in one of these high downforce cars.
And it's learning, right? You got to start somewhere. It doesn't matter if you are 14, 15, 16 years old, or a business owner that has finally found motorsports and is having a ton of fun racing. And yeah, you have to learn at some point. And these downforce machines, I think that these ZP2 cars are a terrific starting point, because it is still low slung in terms of feeling like a go-kart, if you will. So if you come out of the go-kart world, you're comfortable in this smaller type of car. You do have to get used to being inside of a cockpit. And then it's just kind of getting used to, oh my goodness, the faster I go, the more front grip I have. You know, the more I trust the rear end of the car in these high-speed corners, I can feed it throttle way sooner than what I expected. And it's all part of that learning process.
Camden, a young 17 years old here in this bright yellow and white machine. But yeah, has come up racing all kinds of cars such as the Miatas and quarter midgets. Don't see karts in his background. However, something both Joey and I have had involvement with is sim racing, and has run for Williams Esports in the past. So a very big name, not just in sim racing, but racing in general, and proving his pedigree. Sharing with Thomas Belleman, another driver who also does sim racing. And I want to say that I have seen Oliver's name on the sim side, but don't quote me on that one. But I do feel like I have at least seen him around on sim racing from time to time. But this number 4 heads on up the hill once again, and that is the 3 of Gorshkov in front of him, but they're not racing for position at the moment.
Kind of to your point, Joe, I think that every single year, more and more of these drivers are turning to sim racing, either to stay fresh or something else to go out and race in the off season. So, yeah, I think a lot of these names are going to have more and more crossover as we get years and years into sim racing. Of course, had the huge explosion from the COVID times where it really busted onto the scenes in terms of the professional level. But yeah, a lot of these young kids and now even adults using sim racing.
Sounds like we've got Sloan on pit lane. She's talking to Brad McCall. Sloan, what have you got?
Currently here with Brad McCall at Round 3 Racing. Brad, how are you feeling today?
I feel good. It's nice and shady under our tent, so I'm staying pretty comfortable.
Staying comfortable and cool. We like to hear that. I have a very interesting question for you. We've been talking the past 2 races, and one of the issues you guys have been experiencing has been with power steering. Can you give me an update on your power steering now for this race?
Yeah, we removed it on all the cars, so we're manual steering rack now. And it's pretty cool. The young guys love it. So there's 2 perspectives on our team. There's the perspective of the young guys, the 17 to 20-year-old guys, the perspective of the mid-20s guys, and then the old guy, me. The young guys love it. It's super responsive. You get a lot of feedback. It's the closest thing you get to a go-kart. For me, I'm going to be interested to see how long I can stay in the car with it, because there's a lot of feedback. I mean, it's going through turn 3 here. It's trying to yank the steering wheel out of my hands. So maybe this is my excuse to hit the gym.
Oh, I don't like going to the gym in general, so I hope that you don't need to do that. But if you have to, then I think maybe you should. That'd be a good thing to do. But I have faith in you. I think that you guys are going to be just fine. I know this is something that's been going on for literally the past 3 races, so I'm super interested to follow you guys for this race. Is there anything that you are looking forward to for the 12-hour? It's our first one. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is our longest race that we've done with these cars. So I'm super excited for it. I'm really interested to see how we manage the race, how we manage tires, how we manage just everything. I mean, I don't want to say these cars are fragile. They're not fragile. But you need to be careful. You can't go out here and pound curbs. You can't go beat on this car. You can't run 10 tenths. No matter what the announcers say during the Rolex 24, those guys are not running 10 tenths for 24 hours. I promise you that. And we can't do the same here. So it's gonna be interesting to see which teams are the rabbits that run out front, which teams kind of take a more tempered approach. And I think our team might split. We've got some real fast guys who might try to get out front and run away. And the other guys, like my team, maybe we'll just take a little slower approach.
All right, I like that. What'd you have for lunch?
I had what did I have? I had a fajita. I had a shrimp fajita that Berta made for us. It was awesome.
In this heat, shrimp?
It was really good.
Well, there you have it. Brad McCall loves shrimp and doesn't have power steering for this race. Brad, thank you for your time, and we're excited to see you out there tomorrow.
Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Back to you guys.
I mean, to be fair, I'm also the weirdo that would have shrimp no matter the temperature, but I also love seafood. So as we watch on board with another of our prototypes, we were watching from the 94 for quite some time. And Joey, our younger viewers who, haven't wrenched on a car and maybe have just driven your average street car might not be as familiar as what it's like to drive a car that doesn't have power steering. That is interesting to hear that they've just completely taken them off of these things.
Well, it was an addition that they added to the cars. Not all of the cars had those power steering systems. And the easiest way to think about it is a race car, little itty bitty small steering wheel. So adding power steering can certainly help the ease inside the cockpit, right? You're not having to exert as much physical effort. However, you are introducing more systems that have the potential of failure. And I think that is one of the reasons why they also took that system out of the car. But to draw a comparison, the reason why those old cars from the 50s, 60s, and 70s had those big old giant steering wheels is because they were easier to turn without those power steering systems. As unfortunately, Joe, it looks like the random Vandals machine's slow on the back straightaway.
That is not good to see. Let's hope that we don't get another code 60 here. Does sound like Jonathan has a little bit more on the power steering. Jonathan, what's going on?
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful things about the Zenith Racing Series is how customizable these cars are. Even a manufacturer and competitors in the ZP2 class, you might be able to buy these prototypes out of the box and run them, but there's a lot you can do to them. Aftermarket parts, or even from Sebeco, you can add endurance lights, you can add quicker to remove body panels, and like we've been talking about, an electronic power steering issue. We saw that earlier in the season, and how tricky it can get when that system fails. These are particularly difficult cars to drive on the limit. We've seen that especially through sections of the track here, like the S's, where there's a lot of load on the front end of that race car. These cars with that tinier wheel can be really, really hard to drive. We're hearing drivers complain of their hands aching after some of the early morning laps with how physical this racetrack is to begin with. I also want to offer an update on the pulse sitter in ZR3, the 392 car. Sergio Ramirez back aboard, brought that car in for a full tank of fuel. Two, in fact, went back out a few laps later, came back in. A fueling issue that the team is trying to diagnose. Had the laptop out, had the engine cowling up, flashlights in to try to diagnose as much as they could on pit lane. Were unable to do so, so Sergio has brought that car back behind the wall, guys.
Well, it started out good, but like we've been saying, if you can sort these things out today, then tomorrow for the 12-hour, hopefully that'll mean that you're in a better position, as the 14 AOA racing team has since that start been the one commanding in the ZR3s, showing that he's got a minute and a half over Alex Pollard. Now, these cars do take a while to get around the track. It's over 2 minutes as we see one of the BMWs decide to take a little bit of a pit in.
I think that was the 94 car. They've been in and out of pit lane. I think Sloan was reporting on them a little bit earlier, just going over the tires, checking pressures, making sure everything was A-OK. Got to remember they are one of the two of those ZR2 class cars out there, and I think just getting everything ready for tomorrow's race, as we are officially under 1 hour, approaching about 45 minutes remaining out of this 2.5 hour sprint race. First ever sprint race for the Zenith Racing Series, and it's right here at Virginia International Raceway, a picturesque racetrack, and it looks like a fantastic weekend for racing, albeit a little bit hot inside of some of these cars with those ambient temperatures.
Certainly glad that Joey and I can kind of appreciate the air conditioning for this one. Big credit I want to give not only to Jonathan and Sloan, who have been doing a great job out there, but all of our crew behind the scenes on this one, who are certainly going to have their work cut out for them tomorrow, because yes, it's warm today, but they are going to be up from practically sunrise all the way to sunset, as will these drivers and these teams that have to deal with the brutal summer conditions of Virginia. I just saw that the 109 came into pit lane. Not sure if that is scheduled, but this one's interesting, Joey. This actually jumps up that 99 ZR2 team to second overall.
When you mentioned the number, I was going down, timing and scoring, finding them, and yes, sure enough, that 99 jumped up literally as soon as you had mentioned that. So I wonder if Sloan or Jonathan can head on down to Roberts Motorsports and see if that is a scheduled stop for the 109. And from what I am seeing here, getting a couple tanks of fuel. Typically, those are 6-gallon jugs, 5 to 6 gallon jugs, and it typically takes 2 or 3 of those to fill it all the way up and send it back out. And that certainly makes sense, Joe. With about 45 minutes of running remaining, we saw these cars can make it about 1 hour, so maybe fill that thing up with about 80% fuel level, should be able to get it to the end.
And Jonathan saying that is a scheduled stop. So yeah, this was all planned for them to get it in and out, and as you said, easily to the finish with that time frame that they've got. This is definitely a mixed up race that we have seen in positions, as well as seeing what teams are doing out there, since there is a little bit of that pressure off of them. They're treating it a bit more lax than we are used to. It was a couple of our GT cars going to have a little scuffle here, and you got to give a bit of room coming out of the right-hander of turn 5. Thankfully, does not come to blows.
Dropped a tire into the apex grass there through what was that, turn 6 area. I'm going to stand hard on the throttle. That black car is that Bruce Innovations machine. A little bit of a newer car, and then you see him once again clipping the apex there up at turn number 9, just kicking up a little bit of dust. And if you're the trailing car, it's not too much of a visual issue. Sure, you see him kind of dropping the tires on those apexes. I think the bigger problem that can arise is that if you follow too closely and the driver is constantly dropping those wheels, it is what is being kicked up at your car, because even the smallest rock can puncture a radiator and end your day.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And so you've got to be careful with these endurance races because small problems can easily become big ones. 3-car of Gorshkov now pitting in from 3rd position. So they're probably going to be handing that back over to the 109. Still waiting for the 99 to take their stop as well. So we're also seeing the 777 is behind the wall and the 24. So there are still a few teams that are taking the opportunity to try and fix and wrench on a few things. Now, that close moment that we saw about a lap ago, Joey, reminded me, because you had mentioned earlier about the clean racing that they have here. And that's by design. I don't remember if you had mentioned it, but that is part of the rules, that this is considered a no contact series. So yes, they want the drivers to race hard, but they do not want cars to touch at any point.
I tell you what, these two are putting that rule to test right now between the 444 and that 73. So this is Devin Bruce in that black and call it Dayglow yellow car, and Brian Cheney giving chase in that what seems to almost be a Laguna Seca blue base color on that E46 M3. 2 different generations of car, and I believe this is the 77 of Gavin Vaughn trying to find his way by. So I was going to make a comparison between those 2 ZR3 cars. Yes, they are both in that orange ZR3 class. However, the Bruce Innovations BMW, a newer chassis, a newer car in comparison to that 73 of Brian Cheney, and it does have 2 more cylinders. That's the V8 BMW in comparison to the straight 6 E46 giving chase.
Wow, he had a huge gap with that lapping car for a brief moment, but now it is all dissipated after Bruce had to give way coming up and around Oak Tree. So Cheney regains the time, but it does look like you were saying, that newer car has a little bit better legs on the straightaways because he seems to continue to put some distance. And this is a battle for position. This is for 3rd in that class.
And trust me, Joe, it's not just the legs down the straightaway. The entire drivetrain change between going from that straight 6 to the V8, it's everything from the torque coming out of the corner to the top speed of the legs down the straightaway. You can see the E46, the blue car giving chase, actually a little bit of a lighter platform and car in terms of when it was originally produced. So maybe a little bit more nimble, but it is based off of that power to weight. So these cars making their speed maybe a little bit differently, but when it comes to that overall lap time, pretty much identical.
Jonathan letting us know that 3-car has gone back out and it was a clean stop. They did have a driver change, and it is now John McClintock in that one. I believe he's another one of our points leaders. Let me double check that. Yes, he is the points leader, actually, by himself, 3 points over Camden Hibbett. So tomorrow going to be extra important for those two.
The ZP2 machine is that number 5 of Randy Kinney making his way through this battle that we were just kind of covering between the ZR3 cars out there. And we do have another ZR3 that has joined the mix. That is that red, white, and black machine. Now, I believe that is Max Ocaranzo, which is the class leader in the number 14 car. So I think he is going to cruise on by. I had documented just how fast that car is in terms of the lap time in comparison to everybody else in class, and he is just going to follow that number 5 and cruise right on through.
Nicely done. Looks like, well, I just mentioned Camden Hibbett, and Camden is actually bringing the round 3 racing number 4 machine down to pit lane as well. Suddenly a very busy track and maybe a tiny bit of body work on Cheney's car that seemed to be a bit loose. I don't think that's anything major, but just the left-hand side. Saw something kind of shaking around there.
I saw that as well as kind of a battle between the two classes, the drag race. So we see the top speed difference here. The ZR3, the BMW, has the legs down the straightaway, and you saw Randy Kinney lift about 3/4 of the way down the back straightaway here, say, you know what, I'm not even going to challenge going into the brake zone. I'm not even worried about it. The number 14, you can have that track position. Go ahead about your way. And very wisely right there, thinks twice about diving it down the inside of the 444. Probably just going to opt to sit in the slipstream, get the better exit, and make the move down at turn number 1 here at the other end of the straightaway.
Devin Bruce, without a doubt, appreciating this, though, because it continues to act as a buffer between himself and fourth place. 555 had an off, so Tompkins and his BMW with problems, forcing the issue a little bit. Our overall leader, the 14, would like to get things done, and now he is finally fully clear. Still, they are split. And that is more than just an off for Tompkins, as there is severe damage on the nose.
Yeah, I mean, the entire front clip is missing off of this car. No front bumper, no headlights. You see him giving an extremely wide berth there in turn number 4, and now he's going to be on the wrong side of the road. He's doing a terrific job to essentially stay at a wounded car pace as Cheney goes off of the racetrack. I think that might have been a little bit dramatic, but he had finally just got around the 444. So, Joe, a mystery to solve out there for the 555 machine.
Not what we wanted to see. It was looking so good up to that point. Just a few offs here and there, but not anybody that seemed to have major damage. We did see a little bit earlier. I was trying to remember which of our BMWs managed to back it in to the tire wall at one point. So cheeky move by the 73. Knows he's going to be quick and nimble in comparison to the 444. Used it to great advantage in the traffic. And now actually kind of looking like he's running away a little bit.
Take advantage while you can, right? If you got nobody in front of you for the next few corners, go ahead and set that qualifying pace in terms of the brake markers and being able to carry that minimum rolling speed through the corners. So that way, hopefully, by the time you get down to this next straightaway, you don't have that big old V8 rumbling down the back of the slipstream, catching up by the time you get to the brake zone. And yeah, Joe, to your point, I think that Cheney's finally gotten at least enough of a gap, especially over that 444, to not have to worry about it anymore.
And he's pushing the track limits. You could see him kick up the dust down through Hogpen at the apex. He is maximizing the width from entry to apex to exit because he needs that minimum rolling speed in that lighter car. This is just behind our number 4, I believe, Belleman, Thomas Belleman, having hopped into that prototype, still running in the top 5. In fact, we only have one ZR2 splitting our top 5 ZP2 cars right now. Otherwise, they've managed to stay ahead of most of the rest of the field. There are a few of them that had some issues that they had to correct to work on the car. The 5 team, the 57 team, the 8 team as well, all had to pause in pit lane or back behind the wall. So they're kind of all amongst the other GT cars. But for the most part, the ZP2s are at a distance over the rest of the field. I say that, though, and I'm looking now, and Belleman is on lap 50. Okaranza in his 14, he's on lap 49. So well done to the ZR3 drivers.
To your point as well, I'm happy that we got the cars on the screen. I was going to talk about the 99, which is this lead BMW, and shot the blue and white car. I think that 9-4 Motorsports should definitely be paying attention, right, Joe? Because they have dominated this ZR2 class for the first couple of rounds, and they have been that car, right? That car that has been just as fast as the ZP2s. They've been that car that has been perfect in terms of the strategy out there. A little bit of a hiccup there for the 94 going through Oak Tree. I think he was just letting the number 3 car by, and Now he should be back up to speed. But anyways, back to my long-winded point. I think that Team GTR 99 car has come with some serious intentions of winning this race, and 9-4 Motorsports campaigns an extremely similar car in that BMW GT4. I think it's going to be a race tomorrow.
I think you're right. I think they have thrown down the gauntlet here. Have they shown their cards a little too early? Will the other teams play some catch-up overnight? And as you can see, the 411 car behind the wall, also the 555 behind the wall. No shock there. Even Sloan was telling us behind the scenes before that popped up that was going to happen. Oh, but we got a code 60 coming here. So that's going to be in just a couple seconds. And cars will have to slow to 60 kilometers per hour. This is amazingly only the second one this entire race so far.
And yeah, I'm wondering where this has got to be for some debris or something on the racetrack, and what I would assume is probably left over from that 555 incident, Joe, unless you have some other information.
So for a second, I saw the 57 looking like they were potentially stopped. That may have been a transponder thing, though, because they are moving now. So
and Joe, just something because I was mentioning that 9-4 Motorsports car, and remember, they have been the only car to go out there and race against the ZP2s. Well, guess what? Team GTR 99 just did the same feat. We officially have a ZR2 classed car in our overall lead.
We got an update on what happened to the 555. Jonathan, what's the story?
Yeah, guys, I just went over to the pit box to check in. Significant front-end damage on the front of that BMW, crunched significantly. But in speaking with the team, they feel almost optimistic that it might be more cosmetic. Nothing was leaking. The car ran its way all the way back into the pits and then successfully brought itself behind the wall. They will not continue the rest of today, but they are optimistic that that car can get out tomorrow. Even the team is scratching their heads a little bit to find out exactly what happened. Initial reports, though nothing came over the radio, is that there was contact with the tire barriers in Turn 1. That is where race officials appear to be communicating about trying to make some tire wall repairs. But they say they're still searching for where that front bumper is. But either way, the car itself, the 555, is behind the wall.
Some fan might have a little bit of a souvenir if they can't find that one. But that's
and that makes sense, Joe. Just with how much damage was on the front end of that car. I was trying to think of, where is the impact that could have happened? And turn number 1, turn number 3 come to my mind.
And we saw the first pictures we got of the car were coming through turn 2. So, yeah, it all is kind of coming together. And we're getting at least a bit of a better image as to what went down here. So hopefully that will be a quick fix. In fact, I've had days in the past here at VIR where I have seen the crews very quickly get those tire bundles replaced in key areas around the track. They're very efficient here at VIR. So I don't anticipate this one taking too extremely long, and definitely will be able to get back green before the end with 32 minutes plus a lap still left to go. So what will we see from the 99 of Jeff Siegel now that he has taken the lead off of McGurk?
And just to kind of make a little bit of a more extended point to your talking about the safety crews, Joe. They do a lot of police training over there just outside of turn number 1, a lot of military training as well. So I think that the VIR crew, very, very familiar with pulling cars out and fixing things. That might be one of the reasons why they're so good at it.
I think that would make complete sense. Yeah, so lots of experience, no doubt. But at least that means that there isn't, we don't believe that there is a car to try and remove, which will help speed it up as well. And Joey and I have definitely been sold on this method for this series, the Code 60, which is actually getting ready to end. So we'll see the green flag return here in just a few seconds. It keeps the races moving, whereas a lot of endurance races can sometimes seem stop-start these days. These Code 60s have just been rather seamless and kept things on their way. As you can see, we're already back to racing once again.
Really cool to be able to see those race control messages. And I know that you and I are following along on the Alcamel timing and scoring page, and we can literally count down to the second, at least when they give us that time frame of when those Code 60s are going to start or going to end. So we get an awesome overhead drone shot of the VIR facility, including that skid pad, which is very much used for a lot of different fun events, including Hyperfest during VIR in the summertime.
Looks like the 3-car going to get a little bit of a moment to break up that battle now that we were watching a little bit earlier. Still at a pretty close distance considering. But actually, no, excuse me, that is not the same car ahead. That was actually, I think, our overall leader that we saw that was ahead of this car. So I was thinking that was Cheney in the 73, but it is actually Bruce ahead of that 73 once again. There is that 99, and the gap showing at... well, actually, we don't have that gap here because we've got them each in their classes. But if my intervals are right, it might be a minute 12.
And here's the tough part about everybody else, Joe. So I had made the point that this car can go up and run with those ZP2 cars. In the last 20 minutes, call it maybe last 15 minutes before we had that Code 60, it was the fastest race car on the racetrack. Not by a couple tenths, not by half second, but it was turning laps about 1 second faster than anybody else. So now that it's got the track position, the question will be the fuel level, because if it can make it towards, or at least until the end, I think that this car is going to run away with it. If it has to come in and make a stop, that's a little bit of a different story.
Remember when you mentioned that 98 looking a little slow at one point, pit lane speed violation for the 94. So that's another lap that they're going to have added. 29 over. That's
Big
significant. One. Yeah. As I was saying, Kevin Bohm and the Random Vandals are currently in the pits and doing some replacements, it looks like. So they've got some parts out and are having to do some open heart surgery for now.
And Sloan was reporting a little bit earlier that car was having maybe a little bit of a shift linkage issue, that it was stuck in a specific gear earlier in the transmission. So I wonder if it is the same issue or if a different issue has cropped up inside the car.
I wonder what these drivers are going to be like tomorrow. Jonathan is saying that Kevin is looking pretty exhausted and being given some water to try and hydrate. No wonder. I'm sure even just 2.5 hours, well, not even that, because he hopped in halfway, has got to be brutal inside these machines. And they're going to have no relief tomorrow for 12 hours, just having to hop out, let your teammate get in. And I hope they've got a cool zone set up somewhere near their tents.
Watching our overall leader here just turn consistent laps. Working lap number 56 right now in this ZR2 classed car here at Zenith Racing Series. If it looks familiar, yes, that is a BMW GT4 homologated car. And with the Zenith over here, it is all based off of the horsepower to weight ratio. So this car falls conveniently here into ZR2, and with the horsepower that it produces and just with how fast and reliable these GT4 platformed cars are, it's kind of flexing a little bit of muscle right now, showing you how fast a production car can actually go.
I understand Jonathan has a little bit more for us. Jonathan, what's the news?
Went over to the Random Vandals racing camp, and remarkably, everybody seemed very calm. They've seen some shift linkage issues where the actuator was the suspected culprit, went back out on track. This was an unrelated issue from what we understand, though the engine cover came off. I asked them why. They said they're trying to make some setup changes. Rear setup on these ZP2 cars has kind of been the story of the day. There's a lot of work being done under compression, and on top of that, the day has gotten hot, which means the track is greasy. and is setting up the car to be there at the end of the race when track conditions will fall. It will get cooler and therefore more grippy, I think, is going to be the most important thing. So most of the ZP2 class treating the rest of this session and the sprint race like a testing and tuning session, guys.
Ooh, we've got a change down in the ZR3s. The 14, which has been the dominant car all day in the ZR3 class, is now in third with a flat tire. I think they've made it to pit lane and are trying to get that replaced. That means that Alex Pollard in the 85 AOA racing car is now your class leader.
Great catch on that number 14 car. That is definitely an interesting twist of fate with less than 30 minutes remaining. And I know that this is the sprint race, and it's the first ever sprint race that we've got here at Zenith. But, Joe, it seems to be that the final 30 minutes of these Zenith Series races just all of a sudden, things start to happen, and I see the 14 car that had just left pit lane is pulling it off drivers right off of the racetrack in the turn number 1 brake zone. I'm not going to be surprised if we see another code 60.
Wow, what is going on here? Surely they had fixed that tire unless there's something more going on. We did hear that Sloan was saying they fueled on top of it, but wonder if there's damage. And now the car is going, so we're able to stay green. That is good to see. Max Ocaranza has lost a ton of time, and there is only 24 minutes left. I don't think they're going to be able to chase that lead back down at this stage. But who knows? There have been weird things happening. Like you said, Joey, it is unfortunately just a bit of a strange one for us today.
And I think we're going to get some more info from our pit reporters, but I do feel like there are two separate issues. I think the tire issue was separate from the car stopping, going down into turn number 1. It seemed like Max was doing a little bit of a power reset and then got the car back going, but I don't think it's the same issue.
Yeah, let's go to Jonathan. Jonathan, anything?
You're exactly right. The tire was an unrelated issue, pulled off momentarily, did do a full power cycle, all seems to be okay. Only a momentary bit of flurry from the crew while they were trying to understand what was happening. They saw the car go off as we were in the middle of investigating that tire. Not quite sure from the team what caused that puncture, but I can tell you, looking at it, it is completely delaminated from the rim. That tire is absolutely destroyed. Well done from the crew to bring that in without damaging any of the bodywork, because that is a significant tire failure. Glad to see that car is back out and under its own power.
Crisis averted, at least. And like we keep saying, Joey, that's the last thing you want to do is try to hurry back to the pits, because if you cause more damage to the car, that's all the more work that they're going to have to do overnight to get it ready for tomorrow. Don't risk anything today. Save your stuff for the 12-hour.
And I would be very interested to learn a little bit more about these tires and what is going on, because, you know, if you remember, wasn't it back at Barber, one of the ZR3 cars had a tire issue that had that huge bubble happen on the inside shoulder and had to come in and get that replacement done. So I wonder if that was maybe a little bit of a similar issue that we are seeing here at VIR. Of course, two completely different racetracks, two completely different temperatures out there, but just something that was scratching the back of my mind.
That's a good catch on that one. I'd be curious as well, but this series is so unique in that you are forced to use those tires from beginning to end of the race. Not many other endurance series that are forcing that, really trying to keep the teams on their toes, and also the drivers probably having to be extra careful about how they treat those tires. No doubt in these conditions, it'll be a huge importance to be nice and patient when you get onto the throttle. By the way, the 99 had their pit stop, and if I'm seeing right, they emerged still in the lead.
Impressive stuff. Very impressive stuff. They are on the same lap as the number 3 car, so we'll just have to wait for all those time and scoring sectors to register the transponders and really see how far out in front they are, as things are busy in the uphill S's there. You were mentioning about an hour ago, maybe just over, you know, where are some of the areas on the racetrack where you don't want to catch some slower classed cars? That right there was a great example. And the uphill S's, you don't want to catch them right at the beginning. Sometimes it's better to kind of let off the throttle and catch them towards the top end of that section. However, when you got the number 3 car directly on your rear spoiler, it's a whole lot easier said than done.
Yeah, that 98 of Kevin Boehm wanted very badly to go through there, but I think made the better decision. He's got a lot of experience, so I think he knows we should just kind of give it time and preserve the car. 94 now behind the wall, leaving our lone ZR2 car as the 99 out on track as Fardos has found themselves with something to work on. That, or maybe they are deciding there's no use in carrying on in these final 20 minutes to just start working towards tomorrow. We don't know exactly. But Sloan has some information. Sloan, what you got?
Hey guys, just briefly talked to the 59 crew. Apparently the engine blew. Everything was getting a little hot. They tried to communicate that, and it ended up with an engine light coming on and the engine blowing. So they're very hopeful that they'll be able to get back out on track tomorrow for our 12-hour, but I do believe that they are done for the day as their engine is not an engine anymore. Back to you guys.
Wow. That was a big one. It also was a huge slide from the 98. Are you seeing this, Joey? What Kevin Boehm is doing on track?
Yeah, well, Kevin is very, very familiar with lots of different sports car racing, and I think that it is translating here into these little prototypes. He's comfortable with the car sliding around a little bit. He's obviously incredibly comfortable being directly next to a car. It doesn't matter if it's 3 feet or if it's 3 inches. He is going to slide that car into any free air that he has got right now, and he is trying to find a way by, albeit a few laps down. I think he's showing the competitiveness level that Random Vandals has.
Yeah, I am surprised that they are racing as hard as they are, because, again, not for position, not anything except research at this stage. But I'm sure Kevin is taking furious mental notes inside the car of what he can and can't do, and also what his competitors have for him out there on the track, as we get, for the first time in a while, I'd say, 3 of our ZP2 cars nose to tail, even if they aren't for overall position.
So we saw in the back straightaway the slipstream be pretty prevalent with 3 cars lined up nose to tail now. I'm really curious what the front straightaway is going to tell us. That Random Vandals car already has a huge run. You see him literally tucked up underneath the rear spoiler. So he's got some good acceleration. And look at the number 3 car as we jump over to the 109 that has got an issue. Now, I saw this car with the right side door open, call it about 10 minutes ago, but this is a completely different issue. This looks like a right rear failure. I don't know if it's a tire or maybe a suspension issue, but definitely seems to be a problem out of the right rear of the car.
Very strange. And I was trying to see if that right-hand side door was actually poking out a little bit, but couldn't see it from our camera angle. Hopefully that is sorted. So another tire problem late in this race. This is not good news for tomorrow's Enduro, as the 98 continues to give us excitement, and they're now going to try and battle with our ZP2 leader. We haven't mentioned that the 3 is currently up at the top with McClintock in the car.
You're right, and John's doing a terrific job. You had mentioned that when he got in the car, he was one of our championship points leader. I think you said he is the championship points leader. So now he finds himself, albeit a couple of other troubles on the racetrack from some other cars out there, and he has assumed the race lead. And what a great time to be in the race lead, right? 16 and a half minutes plus 1 lap left.
So close to the end of this first ever sprint race for the Zenith Racing Series, and we might get a shocker in a ZR2 car taking the overall. Jeff Siegel currently in that machine with practically a lap over the number 3 of McClintock. Gavin Vaughn still running second in those ZP2s, though. That's a good race. Looks like Pope in the 109, who we saw going slowly, has made it to pit lane. Question is, can they get out before Bellarmine in the 4 catches them? Because that third place in the prototypes is still up for grabs. We'll have to sit tight. This one is certainly not over. The ZR3 still remains in the hands of the 85 of Alex Pollard. Okaranza in the 14 with their issue earlier on. They fell down to 4th in class.
Last lap time from our leader, a 2:03.4. Compare that to their best lap time of the day, which is down in the 2-minute 0.8. We've seen these ZP2 cars go under 2 minutes in terms of those lap times. So I think that John right now, just nice and comfortable out front. I think he realizes that Kevin Bohm behind is several laps down, and Kevin also just being an extremely respectful racer. Sure, he was getting the hands really, really fast in terms of the car control and being able to be racy with everybody. But once everything settles down, I think he knows exactly the position that the team and the car is in, and he's not going to cause any issues in the final 15 minutes.
For sure. Like we keep harping on, he's got so much experience behind the wheel. This is a driver that absolutely knows what he's doing. So, and he doesn't want to interrupt anything for that 3 team either. Sure, he'd love to get more information from round 3 racing, but for now, they seem to be the ones with the measure of the field. Nimbus, who's also been pretty quick over the course of the season, needing to play some catch-up once we get to tomorrow. And it looks like the Roberts Motorsports car is back out on track. The 109 I'm showing as still in 3rd place. We'll try and wait to see if we get an update on the gap between them.
Ticking down the laps and the time here on this 2.5-hour sprint race at Virginia International Raceway for the Zenith Racing Series, filled with terrific racing action. Had the 59 out front early, and then it was the battle between the 77 and the 109 that was consuming, call it, the middle of our race. And then all of a sudden, this ZR2 class car of Jeff Siegel and company and Team GTR 99 have assumed the race lead with, call it what, it was about a half hour ago or so, and ever since then has yet to look back. I'm not sure if they still owe us a fuel stop or not. If they don't have to stop for fuel, I think that they are going to be cruising right now to the checkered flag.
It's exactly how you want it in these endurance races. Just make sure that your destiny is in your own hands, and one little thing is not going to cost you. Now, you can never be 100% safe. Racing is never over until that checkered flag falls. So drivers do have to keep on their toes out there, especially with what we've seen today, getting a couple flats within the last 30 minutes of this race. Take care of your tires. Make sure that you are not overworking them, as we got somebody, it looks like, coming down pit lane. Didn't quite see which car that was from this far shot here on the drone. That is your overall leader, the 99. Yes, it is a GT car leading in these 3 classes, and in fact, it is the only of our ZR2s that is still running that currently is up at the top. The 909, sounding like they had a bit of an off. And another one of your friends, Joey, Charles Espinlaub, in the car.
Yes, Charles and I go way back to banging doors against each other in former forms of competition, as I was just about to point out just how fast this BMW is with Jeff behind the wheel right now. The car in front is the number 77. That is Gavin Vaughn. Now, he is just out of frame, but he's about maybe 1 corner, maybe 2 corners up, and Gavin is running 2nd place overall. If you look at that timing and scoring, he is that number 77, 2nd in ZP2. So we're going to see how fast the BMW is in comparison to one of our top running prototypes.
Just a masterclass today, I'd say, from this team running this BMW and outpacing what theoretically should have been the faster cars out there. And I have to say, maybe on strategy as well, just planning it out perfectly and taking advantage of things when they can. Another car behind the wall, the 24. I was trying to find that. That is Hosier in that BMW 235i. They were running in 7th at the time, but we are seeing a lot more cars with the in pits marker next to their names on our timing and scoring, frankly. So I think there are many cars that were laps down at this point saying that's enough, at least for the Friday race, and then are setting their sights towards Saturday. So as we come now to the final 10 minutes plus a lap of this event, it is all about putting those laps in to try to get yourself to the finish. You've made your bed. Can you lay in it?
Like you mentioned, 10 minutes, so it's just in these closing stages. Just got to keep it nice and consistent. If the driver has been in the car for a while, it's kind of to the point where you don't really even tell them what's going on. Sure, if they're asking questions, how much longer is there in the race, you can give them the updates, and you never want to give them false information or lead them down a wrong road. However, if the driver is calm, cool, collected, and not talking about much, let him or her do their thing inside the race car. The more info you tell them, the more their brain is working. That is on things that are outside of driving. They might change their rhythm and it might induce a mistake. So if everything is going to plan right now, don't mess with anything.
I like that. And while the timings sheets have changed since I noticed that recently, I looked at Siegel and McClintock. They ran a lap time on the same lap to within 1,000th, a hundredth of one another. So, yeah, that is another testament to how fast the 99 is, that he's running lap times comparable or often faster, because the last one was 7/10 quicker than McClintock in a prototype.
Looking at the times, because now you really got my brain going, there is a lot of fast cars that are just kind of buried in terms of track position, whether it be from figuring things out in terms of a test session or just maybe not having the first half of the race go exactly as we want as we ride on board. This is on the front straightaway. This is passing the 109 car right now. So Ryan Pope was in that Burgundy machine that we are overtaking. We're riding inside the 77 of Gavin Vaughn. Nice outbraking maneuver, and actually now a little bit of an over-under there from Ryan Pope, trying to peek out of turn 1 and 2 and eventually settles back into that racing line. But to my point, Joe, there's a lot of these ZP2 cars that don't necessarily have the track position that are turning extremely fast laps. I mean, Gavin's last lap, 2 seconds faster than the number 3 that's leading the class.
Yeah, I kind of caught that too, and could be interesting to watch. No wonder the 77 was in a hurry to get by that 109, even though he's already got a lap on him. He thinks that maybe there could be something in the future. We'll see. There could be a battle for third. Belleman's only about 11 seconds behind Pope. Unfortunately, it's about 1.3 seconds last lap time difference, which is a big difference, but with only, I think at this point, looks like about 3 to 4 laps left. That's not going to be enough time to catch up for a podium finish.
I'm with what Jonathan was really reporting on from pit road not too long ago, though, is that a lot of these teams, and call it the final 30 minutes of this race, and especially in the final 10 minutes that we're now in it, this really is going to be a test and tune session. So I have a feeling a lot of the teams right now are radioing to the drivers, what does the car feel like? What is the complacency of the car? Do we need to work on a specific area of the racetrack? Is it okay in terms of the brake pedal pressure and that you don't have to worry about locking anything up? Is the car stable on entry? What about through the really high speed sections? Can we dive the car in or maybe be off of the racing line and the driver is still confident in the race car? I think that these are the last crucial minutes right now that the drivers and the teams can kind of exchange that information and help make the car better for the big race tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we've been seeing a ton of that for sure. And to give some perspective as well, since you're, saying they might be asking the drivers what it feels like now. This stage of the race, if we were from the start of tomorrow, wouldn't even be a quarter of the way into the event. That is how much racing they're going to be doing. And this one's getting ready to wrap now at this stage. That 77 has overtaken the 109, but hasn't completely pulled away. Pope making sure to show that, hey, we still got pace. If we didn't have our issues out on track with the flat tire, I would have been racing you for that position, maybe trying to take a P2. McClintock with his minute ahead of Gavin Vaughn, not even having the pace advantage, still plenty safe over the Nimbus Racing machine.
I'd be curious to know, and I realize there's only 5 minutes left, and I know that we're getting set up for all of the podium ceremonies, but maybe a little bit of information that we could find before tomorrow, too, is what exactly happened with that 109 car? Because, I mean, Joe, we clearly saw it off pace coming out of Oak Tree going down the back straightaway, and that was only about, maybe 15, 20 minutes ago?
That's a good point, yeah. I'll shoot a text over here in a second, see if we can get one last update before we're done. Not sure if we still got anybody out there on the lane. Regardless, it certainly raised a few eyebrows, and it did to me look like that was a right rear going down based on the smoke and the way the car sat. But can't tell for sure, at least at this stage. So they're going past what used to be, I believe, our leader in the ZR3 class. Has since fallen down to fourth, Okaranza in the 14. Just kind of circulating at this stage, knowing they won't get a podium in a race that won't get them points, so they won't be too greatly disappointed, but they will know that what happened today could happen tomorrow, and they need to prepare to prevent that if they want to try and take a victory.
You had mentioned the Random Vandals car, specifically with Kevin behind the wheel, Kevin Bowman, how much he was muscling the car around the racetrack. I saw the exact same thing out of Gavin Vaughn right there, coming out of what is, call it turn number 5 in the lower S's here, the snake. He was just trying to feed the power down to the ground, and you combine that with the slippery conditions that we've heard all race long. The car was just really squirming, trying to find the traction to drive it out of the corner there. And if we see low grip in that section of the racetrack, trust me, it is going to be low grip into these brick zones as well, where the drivers are counting on that grip level.
Speaking of looking towards tomorrow and kind of making notes, even on our end, Matt Million in the 57 just set his fastest lap of the race. Now, it's not the fastest of everybody, but it was a 2-flat-2. So that's pretty darn fast from what we've seen of most of the prototypes. I anticipate that that 57 car is going to be a lot more competitive tomorrow when they start with everybody else.
Just
Hello,
under
hello.
2.5 minutes remaining here. As the leader, our overall leader, is coming up to the start-finish tower. This will be very, very close, Joe. 2:05, 2:04. I mean, they're doing 2:04, 2:05 minute lap time. So I wonder how they're going to call this one, because we do have to run it all the way down to those zeros, and then we get the +1 lap. But I have a feeling it's going to be pretty close by the time we get around next time.
I'm with you. It was a 2:06 this last time, so they could be easing up, and they have the ability to do so and still take this overall win. So let's see what this one winds up looking like. 45.3 on the first sector last lap, so I'll give you an update once they cross that first sector to see if it's running similar times or if it's quicker, because if it's similar
testing, levels for Jonathan, testing.
In time.
Testing, levels for Jonathan.
So, yeah,
testing,
close.
levels for Jonathan.
Looks like they should hit the 0, I think, if he keeps up this pace before we get to the line.
I guess there's only one way to really find out and see, Joe, and that is to get around about another mile and a half here at VIR and just see where this BMW actually crosses the start-finish line in relation to our clock over here. And one thing is for sure, like you had already pointed out, they can afford to slow up if they decide to. I think it's always in the spirit of a racing car driver to go as fast as possible all the time. However, just in the case of this 2.5-hour race and just the lay of the land currently, I wouldn't doubt to see it hit triple zeros this time and get a white flag.
And Joey, we had a change for the lead in the ZR3s. Alex Pollard is now in second, and Devin Bruce has moved the 444 up to the top spot. I don't know what's related to that, if maybe the 85 started losing pace or if there was an off track, but that's a dramatic development as we are coming by the start-finish line now. Let's see if we can see a white flag. I couldn't see it from that far away, whether or not they were waving it.
It should be. Now, I have not confirmed it, but it should be white flag based off of me watching timing and scoring and where the car is. Got to remember, start-finish stand at VIR is well down the front straightaway. It's not in the middle. It's pretty much, call it 3/4 of the way down the front straightaway here. So I believe that we are on the last lap. And to your point about that number 85, I wonder if they are having a similar issue that struck the number 14. Those are both AOA racing machines.
Ooh,
I do see white flag out right now, Joe.
Ah, excellent. Also, I think you could be right, because the last lap for Pollard was a 2:21. That is significantly off the pace. So they could be limping home here. We'll wait and see if we can get any visual on them a little bit later on. But for the time being, the Team GTR BMW M4 GT4 Evo leads handily over McClintock and is getting ready to capture an overall win despite being in the ZR2 class. McClintock tried his best to see if he could catch up to him, just wasn't going to be enough, as there is Gilbert just bringing her home.
Just got to worry about one big brake zone right here at the end of the straightaway. And then from there, can pretty much coast it all the way to start-finish line. Jump hard on the binders there, get it around turn number 14, and now take it nice and easy down the hill. One technical section of hog pen remaining, and we're going to be bringing 2.5 hours of racing to a close momentarily.
On to the main straight. Gilbert will allow Siegel and Jackowitz to claim overall victory here in the first sprint race at the Zenith Racing Series. 2.5 hours, and they come away with the win. We wait for McClintock to reach the start-finish line now to take the ZP2 victory, and Devin Bruce currently leading handily over Pollard.
I saw that McClintock is on the back straightaway right now, so he's going to have just a little bit longer before he finally reaches that checkered flag here on the front straight. I'm not exactly sure where the 444 is in relation to the front straightaway here, but I do see that he has opened up about 8 seconds over that number 85, so it does seem like the Bruce Innovations car is at least in control of that ZR3 class lead.
I can see he is just onto the back straight himself. So, yeah, it is looking good for them. The 85 a ways away from them. 44, or the 3 car, we'll get it right eventually, is coming up to the start-finish line now. And John McClintock will give them a ZP2 win for that round 3 racing team. Gorshkov, of course, sharing the car with him a little bit earlier. Now we get the 444 coming down through Hogpen. Probably a shock to them as well. It was a long distance between themselves and the AOA racing team, but a win is a win, even if it's not for points. So Devin Bruce in that 444 sharing it with Tompkins is going to take victory in the ZR3 class.
Hard fought all the way to the end. You saw the 77 of Gavin Vaughn cross parallel with them as well. He claims a second place in that ZP2 class. As Joe, we're going to have our class results here on the screen.
Yep, it is the round 3 racing machine, the number 3 that takes your win. Nimbus Racing 77 comes home in second. Roberts Motorsports collects themselves a podium despite drama at the end of the race. Round 3's number 4 car finishes appropriately 4th. And then the number 5 car finishes 5th for round 3 racing as well. Stratus Racing and Matt Million had to make it out late on the track. They only were able to get 6 as their number 59 unfortunately finished in 7th after blowing the engine. Random Vandals number 98 was going to be 8th today as the Automatic Racing 909 car gets a 9th place. Both they and the 908 also ran into trouble as they round out the top 10. And I don't believe we saw the 58 car there in 11th take to the track. What about our ZR2 finishers here, Joey?
It really was dominated by that Team GTR 99 car. Michael Gilbert closed it out, saw Jeff Siegel in the car as well, but they were the fastest of these, call it ZR2 machines, and actually won overall. So quite a feat for that Team GTR 99 machine. And then we're going to jump over to what is our ZR3 results. Do want to give a shout out to 9-4 Motorsports real fast. They did finish second in ZR2, but Devin Bruce and Bruce Innovations with the comeback win there at the very, very end claim that ZR3 class. Alex Pollard and AOA Racing falling to second a little bit later in the race, and Max Ocaranza and the other AOA Racing machine that really dominated the class fall to what is third. Gray Performance Motorsports going to finish 4th with Grissom Autosports back here in 5th. Bruce Innovations with their second car is going to finish in 6th with Montgomery Motorsports in 7th. Big Mission Motorsports in the 777 is going to finish in 8th with Harrison Motorsports in 9th. And then Heinlein Racing Development finishing in 10th. Big Mission with their other car facing some adversity early on, finishing in 11th. Same thing with HQ Autosports finishing in 12th. And then we did not see Camburn Performance take to the track today, but we will see them tomorrow in the 12 hour.
We've said it a lot today that today was a learning day for our teams, our competitors out on the track, but I'd say we learned a lot as well, Joey. What's the biggest things that you picked up from what we saw out there during this sprint?
The ZP2 class is always competitive, so I think buckle up no matter what there. It's going to be a repeat of both Sonoma and Barber, strategy galore, and also fantastic racing on the track. But I am most interested in the ZR2 and ZR3 classes. Team GTR 99 busted onto the scene here at VIR. Does 9-4 Motorsports have a response for them in the big race tomorrow? And then, of course, the up and down race for AOA Racing in that ZR3 class. Can they keep it consistent tomorrow, or is Bruce Innovations going to steal away another win?
There we can see them getting ready for those podium ceremonies and also the wonderful facilities here at VIR. This is one of those tracks where the owners are continually improving everything about this place. And you could tell when you talk to them, they're passionate about it. They've done a fantastic job. Seems like every time I wind up visiting this circuit, there is always something that they're showing off that's shiny and new.
I love VIR. I lived in Virginia for about a decade, and granted it was over on the coast, so it was still about a 4-hour drive out to VIR, but I spent a ton of time at VIR. Big shout out to Kerrigan Smith and everybody who helps out with that VIR racetrack, keeping it in top-notch condition. Doesn't matter if it's the grass, if it's the track service, if it's the facilities there on the racetrack. One of my favorite parts about VIR is look at these picturesque red barns, right? Yeah, you've got the hotels and the condos and these amazing, call it hospitality facilities. But when you get down to it, it still looks like old school Virginia. The rolling hills with the racetrack set right in the middle. One of my favorite places to go.
It's definitely climbing up my list of racetracks. But out in the 90-degree heat, Jonathan is still bearing with all of it as he's caught up with our finishers.
everybody was safe. And this guy over here, James Muscatello, brings an unbelievable car, and you know, he made everything happen. So I get the interview, but these guys really made it happen.
Tell us about the race car you had, this M4 GT4 Evo. We know how capable it is, but it was treacherous, it was tricky, it was slippery out there in the heat. What did you feel in the race car?
Yeah, it definitely got slick, and we were able to adjust our traction control and braking points and how we drove the car to manage the tires. It's definitely slick, and with a 12-hour race tomorrow, we're going to have to manage it and manage the tires for sure. But honestly, it was a great car today. James and Shane in the shop put it together 100% solid, and it was fantastic. We were fighting some bugs at the radio. We couldn't hear each other earlier in the day, and thank goodness we got that taken care of, so we got through the code 60s okay. But honestly, we drove to the track today. Instead of driving the car that we wanted to have, we drove the track that was there. So,
well, a heck of a welcome. Welcome to Zenith. Nothing like do it in victory lane, and you'll start on the pole for tomorrow's 12-hour race, guys. That's the 99 crew, your overall winners.
So even they were feeling it out on the track while others were sliding around, apparently. But that tells you a lot, I think, Joey, about how they were still managing it in this 2.5-hour race, and they're thinking forward about what they're going to have to do to do the same, having to change their braking around this track and just adapt to it. And we've talked about the heat a lot, but what about the fact that it's also going to be changeable heat? Because starting at 8 a.m., it's going to feel a lot different from when it gets to, say, 3 o'clock.
Yes, I hear you in that regards. However, when we talk about the temperatures that the brake pads and the rotors see, extreme minuscule in terms of the percentage. All right, we're dealing with temperatures well above 1,000 degrees when we're talking about those brake packages. So, yeah, the ambient air temperature, it certainly feels worse when it gets hot, but I think it's more humans that are going to be affected more by it. And if today is a preview, I'm just going to run with what you said. Yeah, they're going to have to plan more for tomorrow. I think it's going to be a little bit more on the mental side of things in terms of the drivers realizing how far they can push those brake limits. But guess what? It's the same conditions for everybody. So it is going to be a slippery racetrack.
Extremely slippery. Looks like we do have Sloan with another of our winners. She's caught up with the 444 team.
Here with John McClintock, the winner of the ZP2 class in car number 3. John, how are you feeling?
Oh, it's been a great day. You know, we just getting the car dialed in the morning and then getting it in the race and running clean, running consistent. My teammates did a great job giving me a good position to finish the race from.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one who brought it home, though, so that was a really great fight out there. I caught up with Brown McCall earlier today. He said that the power steering's been out of the car. How did you feel the car was now without the power steering?
Oh, it's so much more controllable. You get a lot more response and feel from the car. You can get it loose and not worry about can you catch it or not. You just have so much more confidence.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. You never know how it's going to go when you make a change, especially 3 races in, but it seems like you guys handled that flawlessly. How are you feeling for tomorrow's race?
All set. If we can run the same kind of race that we did today, I think we're going to be in a good position.
Do you have any rituals before a race? Do you eat something specific? Do you just go to bed for 12 hours? What's your kind of lucky thing?
Just try and get in the game and focus on what's in front of us.
I love that. Short, sweet, and simple. Well, congratulations. We're super excited to see you out there tomorrow, and we hope you celebrate hard tonight.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
So, like that was a tough one. Joey, you pointed out an interesting stat to me on this one about some of, well, it might not be all down to the heat. It might be more to the fact that it was kind of a practice session, but it sounds like attrition played a bit of a part.
Yes, we have a very large entry field for Zenith Racing Series here at VIR, and I love seeing the growth from Sonoma over to Barber and now here at VIR. This is the most amount of cars that we've been able to put on the racetrack at one time. Yes, the heat does have to play with a little bit of that attrition rate, but I think more so that everybody is getting ready for tomorrow.
I can look at you.
And ready for us is Sloan with the last of our winners.
We are here with ZR3 winner TJ Hoffines. Congratulations on an incredible race. Tell us how you're feeling.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's surreal. Great team, obviously, solid drivers. Even from, we have 3 drivers, obviously, for the 12-hour, and we had one guy that's like, hey, man, do you want me to help you buckle in? We'll make it faster through driver change, and I think that obviously proved a good point right there. So, good teamwork.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys had ended up on the podium the last few races, and it's been so exciting following your story and your journey. Can you tell us a little bit about, do you have any team special things you like to do before the race, or is it all just kind of get into the game and get ready to go?
Yeah, I think we just focus. I think that's the name of the game. Just focus, get in the mode, and just make sure that we're here to execute and do a job.
Did you see any difference in the track conditions from this morning to now? Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I mean, this morning, even from yesterday, getting out there and then jumping in first thing this morning, I had a little spin just on one. It was just a lot more greasy. So the pedal management, everything was obviously way more important. But once you kind of get it nailed down, you're golden. So, yeah, it's great. Like I said, great team effort. Couldn't be happier, obviously. Team win. So
that's awesome. Well, congratulations. We're super excited to see you guys out there tomorrow.
All right. Absolutely. 12-hour. Here we come.
Here we come.
On its way for everybody, the drivers, all the marshals, all looking forward to this incredible race. So we've got, I believe, our winners ready for the podium ceremonies. Just checking to see where we're going to be headed next for our show, because I know we are excited to get ready for tomorrow's event as well. I think you should watch out for that 14 team. I know Ocaron's is probably going to be feeling like they had one in the bag, as well as the 85. That ZR3 class certainly threw up a lot of twists and turns, Joey.
And I have a feeling that tomorrow, where a lot of the strategy in racing is going to come from is that ZR3 class. I'm not going to count out ZR2 as well, but the ZR3 class is where we've seen the majority of the growth and the majority of the car counts really starting to fill that entry field. So if you like racing, you know that the more cars you pack on the racetrack, the more natural racing really starts to happen. And so, yeah, I'm looking towards that orange ZR3 class.
Well, for Joey and I here up behind the scenes, along with our pit reporters, Sloan Paulsner and Jonathan Grace, as well as our entire crew here at Zenith Racing Series, a big thank you. We'll be back early tomorrow morning for our first ever 12-hour race here at Virginia International Raceway. But in the meantime, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
Hello, everybody. How are we feeling out there? Oh, come on. I know it's hot. I know we're tired. How are we feeling out there? That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to our podium ceremony for the first round at VIR. You can't hear me really well? Oh, I've been told you can't hear me, and that's really important. Now you can hear me now? Yeah? How are we feeling out there? Okay, well, you'll take what we can get, but tomorrow for the 12-hour, I want everyone screaming, okay? Great. We're going to get started with our podium ceremony. We're going to start with the ZR3 class. In third place, we have car number 14, AOA Racing. You know how the drill goes. Oh my God. Nacho Libre, give it up for Nacho Libre, everybody. You guys, come on, can we celebrate? Nacho Libre, everybody. Awesome. And in second place, we have car number 85, AOA Racing. Woo! Yeah, we love to see it. Pose for a quick photo op. And in first place, we have car number 444, Bruce Innovations. Congratulations, guys. We're going to pose for some photos real quick. I don't know how you guys are in your fire suits. It looks so hot. Like, I'm dying in this t-shirt. Hold them high. Be proud, you guys. This is so exciting. Like the most exciting thing ever. Alrighty. Camera people, are we ready? Let's celebrate! Yeah, you guys like that? That's a new little fun touch we got. Just don't get it in your mouth. Woohoo! Thank you, Nacho Libre. Thank you so much for blessing us with this lovely appearance. It looked good? That's good. Yeah, he deserves it. He worked really hard. Alrighty.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to celebrate our ZP2 class podium. Finishing second in the ZP2 class is the number 77 Nimbus Racing Team. Our third place finishers as well, the number 109 Roberts Motorsport Crew. So our third place finishers from ZP2, 109 Roberts Motorsports.
It's pretty quiet. It's quiet.
Our second place finishers in ZP2, the number 77 Nimbus Racing Crew. And your winners in ZP2 and on the class poll for tomorrow, the number 3 Round 3 Racing Crew. All right, drivers, let's see those trophies. And if you're ready, let's celebrate. Congratulations to our ZP2 podium finishers.
Alrighty, and last but certainly not least, we have our ZR2 class winners. In second place, we have the 94 9-4 Racing. Woohoo! Congratulations, you guys. Pause and smile for the photos. Soak in all the glory in the really hot sun. And in first place, the overall winners for the race, number 99, GTR 99. For their debut. Incredible work, you guys. Big team effort here. This is so exciting. All right, hold your trophies high. This is so exciting. Yeah! Big smiles everywhere. Hold the trophies up. Hold it up, hold it up. And we're going to get the okay from the Vitogs and Videogs. Do we have the okay? All right, let's celebrate! Woohoo! Thank you all so much for an incredible race day. I want to remind you all we do have a social in the hospitality suite that is free and available to everybody. Food, drinks, good vibes. It's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. So please join us up there. Grab some food, grab some drinks, and thank you all for an incredible day. We're so excited for tomorrow. Rest up, and we'll see you at the green flag. Also, the podium will be staying intact, so if anyone wants to come take pictures.